Ahem. There we go. Mute that. I don't need that. No, we're not streaming Rainbow Six Siege. Why does... I need to figure out why Twitch does that and how to fix it. Because what the fuck? Just chatting. There we go. We're a bit late. A little bit late. And by a little bit, I mean like an hour. Everyone, we live. But we're here. And you know, we're on time for Ice to be here too. We're a little bit late. I went out. Was making bad decisions. We got ourselves a big ass fucking night. This is just for me. I'm not doing this on stream or anything like that. But, you know, man's got to get his plastic meth before we get started on the stream. And that's what took me so long to get started and get here. We've got a few things to look at, actually. Thinking about it. First off, this is going to be boring for like 90% of the people watching. This is only specifically for the people who are into like tabletop RPGs, specifically my tabletop RPG, the Warhammer one we were talking about last week. Purge Team, as I call it, whatever. This is a Game Master guide. It is linked in the same thing in the Discord if you're ever watching this in the future. It's always linked in the description of my YouTube videos, or, you know, let me link it right here now for stream. Paste, please. Come on. Why no do it? Paste. There we go. Please don't be a night where you just refuse to work. It's in the Discord. I have it linked. I add in like patch note type stuff in there and updates whenever I change stuff. This is basically a long Game Master guide, or as I call it, a Warsmith guide. I just refer to the Game Master as the Warsmith because I think it's kind of cool. And this just describes basically everything about the game, everything you could need about Warhammer 40k, and it's laid out. If you're familiar with the like regular D&D Dungeon Master's Guide, it's kind of like that, where it shows you the setting, it shows you the different planets and stuff I have built for my campaign. The superhero comic history. That's an interesting lurk. Goes through the planets and stuff and all the worlds and locales I use in my campaign, and it's the main campaign I have described here, as well as actually laying out the campaign for you to run, showing you all that you need, all the steps and big story moments and beats and stuff you'd have to roll out the red carpet for to set up for this campaign. And that's campaign. There we go. Oh man, I got to keep an eye on that, and I need to again buy another cord, because the cord I bought last time, I cheaped out, and I figured the cheap out version would work. The cheap out version did not work. So there's your lesson. Don't cheap out if it's something you absolutely need. But we got a few things to talk about, mainly react to our good buddy Ice Cold Snake. He's got a big video in Dante's Inferno. It's an hour long. We're going to be yapping about that. It'll take us a minute to get through it. And then we've got some stuff with Xbox. I'm pretty sure this is about all the Xbox price increases and stuff. I like the thumbnail on the monitor. That it gives me Chris Ray Gun vibes, kind of. But it'll be very interesting to see. And then get into and yap about. Because boy, do I like yapping. An excuse to yap is an excuse to go through it. I can make goals on YouTube? Oh yeah. I hope that didn't just disconnect my microphone when I bumped it. There we go. There's a goal on the YouTube account, on the YouTube stream for stuff. Microsoft, the benefit of the doubt, they're a better company when it comes to treating employees kindly. I wouldn't say employees, I would say maybe consumers compared to Nintendo and or Sony, but I mean, we'll see. They're still a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I couldn't give a fuck, you know? But we'll just jump right into this because I'm already like an hour and a half late, so I gotta make up for lost time not yapping, you know? Make sure that this is playing.
This is going to be a little bit different of a video than I normally make. I know normally I just make like goofball ass Xbox 360 reviews and retrospectives, but I saw the news today from Microsoft that they're now going to be raising the prices on all their first party games to be $80 on release, and it just pissed me off to the point where I just wanted to grab the mic, set up the camera, and just kind of yap away for a little while because it's fucking bullshit, man. We all knew this was going to happen after Nintendo announced that Mario Kart World is going to be $80, and instead of having a bunch of backlash to it, all of their fanboys just came out and said that, oh yeah, it's fine because it's the Switch 2, and oh, because of the tariffs and because of development costs. Like, they all just came out and just defended this corporation.
I mean, there's definitely people who defend it. I feel like the reaction I mainly saw was negative, but mainly from like specific circles or whatever, I guess, that I listen to. But I felt right away when we saw Nintendo raising their prices to $80, if not $90 a game, depending on the line or whatever, that like it was pretty clear that that's the way the industry was going to move entirely. Because once one company does it, that gives leeway for the other companies to do it, and everyone's like, well, you know, Nintendo's already doing it. Of course, Xbox is going to do it, but they're going to hate Nintendo more than Xbox because Nintendo pulled the trigger. And, like, I might be wrong, but, like, well, I know there's a big Nintendo can do no wrong part of the fan. I mean, that's, like, all fan bases. You know, there's still Kanye West fans out there, man. He just made a song about fucking his cousin, and he still has fans. People will defend anything if you give them a reason to, or if they have some self-centered reason to. But on the side of, like, Nintendo and raising prices and stuff, as far as I'm aware, I thought the things with the tariffs was that, didn't they just announce that tech stuff wouldn't get the tariffs applied to them, like tech hardware specifically? I thought that was a big thing that they were like, everything will be tariffed but this. Maybe, because if that is the case, if I am remembering that right, that feels more like they're using it as an excuse. Obviously, fanboys are going to make excuses, but like a corporation like Microsoft would be also using it as an excuse to raise prices. I mean, that's going to happen no matter what. Like, it's the same thing like during COVID, even industries that were not really impacted, were not as impacted as much, would raise prices, and then their prices have remained inflated for the last 5 years since then. Nintendo mistreating YouTubers when it comes to Nintendo. Out of date? I mean, out of date. It's just a different copyright system just because it's not in line with America. I wouldn't say out of date. It's just a different style. I'm not super in line with Japanese copyright systems, but copyright in general is just fucking stupid. I'm not a big pro copyright guy, so I'm not gonna be one in any copyright argument really one way or the other outside of no copyright. As long as you aren't like one for one taking and like re-uploading or taking and reselling or just like whatever, I don't really give a shit. Blame Disney? Yeah. A lot of big corporations in America are really the main reason we have most laws that are pro corporation, let alone like specific laws like that specifically are pro corporation, but can't really do anything when everything else is bought and paid for.
That has no agenda besides taking more of their money, and it just infuriates me. These companies just think that it's fine to go and say that we have to pay $80 for games and then gaslight us into saying that it's because of rising development costs or changes in market conditions, or that they're
Also, development costs are going up. Like what it takes to make a Gears of War game in 2025 versus a Gears of War game in 2006. Sorry, I just had an M&M. They're very, very different, right? Today, games are way more expensive than they've ever been. I don't know how much. Let's take... How much did it cost to make Gears of War 1? Do we know? That's a Reddit thread. I don't know if I... GameSpot. Gears of War Judgment cost $60 million. So that cost $60 million. That would have been... maybe half, maybe a little bit less for Gears of War 1. I don't know about like Gears 5 specifically, but we know like God of War Ragnarok cost $250 million. That's it's over 4 times as much money. Like development costs have gone up for specific games. I don't know if development costs for Nintendo have gone that much, what the fuck? I can't think right now. Have risen that much? Like, how different is Mario Kart 8 from Mario Kart 6? Like, I'm not a big Mario Kart person, but every time I've played like a Mario game, like I started with like New Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, and then just recently played Mario Wonder on the Switch. It's like the same, like obviously Wonder has new stuff and it's got different stuff going on and it's like a little bit more advanced, but like it's not that groundbreaking or like game changing or anything, you know, it's still a Mario game. So like I don't really think that like a studio like Nintendo is dealing with rising costs or anything like that. Even for the Switch, it's not like the Switch is super like a labor-intensive, hyper-developed. Like the Switch 2 is barely as powerful as like the PS4, you know? Like it's not like they're breaking the bank on like these exorbitant development R&D costs or anything like that. So like in some cases, in games like Gears or something like that, I can kind of maybe, you know, see the argument. Like you look at like GTA 4 versus GTA 6, which just got delayed, which will be coming out, you know, in 2058 or something like that. Now, the argument there would be that these games also nickel and fucking dime us every step of the way. I think God of War is probably a bad example because that doesn't have any DLC whatsoever outside of like maybe the deluxe edition. You can get like the $80 version of the game rather than the $70 one that just comes with like a single set of armor, or like the collector's edition, which also comes with a set of armor. But like, I don't I don't feel like there's like as much as development costs have risen, they've nickel and dimed to the extent that I don't give a shit. Like, you could sell GTA 6 at $60, you can make it $50, you can make it $40, and it'll still make $1 billion within a decade, if not half a decade, because they're gonna sell shark cards like crazy and shit like that. Money people problem? Yeah, it's like a corporate thing. Like, games have to make more money, so therefore they, they like need to justify spending money on games, even though they're making plenty. Like the Call of Duty, Activision specifically, where like Call of Duty sells better than it ever has again for the 15th year in a row, and then they fire 800 people, and it just so happens Bobby Kotick, right, the CEO of Activision, just so happens to get like a $50 million raise, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, okay. But like the nickel and dime, like if a game was like, say, God of War Ragnarok or Gears 5 is pretty cool with it too. Extra credit. I don't take extra credits opinion seriously. But like God of War Ragnarok and like even Gears 5 or like Elden Ring, like these games that do treat their player with respect and don't drown them in microtransactions. Like those ones, I can justify like a $70, $80 price tag, like Space Marine 2, if you're looking for like a more recent example. Because, like, I don't mind paying more for those games because they're not also tacking on, oh, here's, it's not Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was like $70 at release, and it launched with 4 different cosmetic packs that were $20 like a pop. That's another $80 worth of DLC skins in a single player game on day one. Now that's ludicrous. Now that's a game that should be $40. Like Helldivers, even Helldivers, I don't really have that much of an issue with the battle pass system in Helldivers because the base game was $40. You have to buy three, maybe 4 of the battle passes to like you get to the same level of spending as if you were to pay for Shadows before any of the stupid bullshit DLC. And there's pros and cons of each of it, but most of it is just corporations kind of like going, fuck you, money please. Like the Mona Lisa thing from Parks and Rec. Money me, money me, money me now. It's most of it is just bullshit.
Delivering more value to players by releasing these games that they think are worth $80 now because they're the ones who are saying that they're delivering more value to us. And even in Xbox's statement, they came out and said that the price increase is because of market conditions, because of rising development costs, and also because of their increased innovation into play an Xbox game on any screen that can connect to Wi-Fi, because of their stupid ass "this is an Xbox" campaign. And the whole thing is just, it's fucking bullshit. Microsoft actually reported that the Xbox gaming division had a record $5.7 billion in revenue for the quarter. At the same time, Microsoft is laying off thousands of people a year from their gaming division. The rising development cost is why us as consumers need to pay more. It's fucking ridiculous. Games don't need to be made on budgets of $200 million or $150 million. Hell, Xbox can't even make a fucking good game to begin with.
That's fair, but unless, I don't know if a game that is necessarily cheaply made would sell consoles. Because there are games that are cheaper that are really popular. Like, Balatro was fucking big. Hi-Fi Rush was huge. And it's not like that thing has the budget anywhere near like God of War Ragnarok or Halo Infinite, which cost like $500 million. But I don't know if like, even if like that was like your litany of games. The biggest problem is that they could do both. They could make $500 million games, like one a year, and still sell it for $60 and still make their money back, especially if they're, really grossly flooding it with microtransactions. And as long as the game sells well, which for a lot of first-party games, they don't tend to have a big issue selling. Maybe Xbox specifically, but like PlayStation, because a lot of people like the first party PlayStation games. A lot of people like Last of Us and God of War and Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's a little bit different because it's a licensed title, so the amount that they lose on licensing, although it's being licensed directly from Sony, who owns Insomniac, or they have a big stake in Insomniac, so I don't know. Either way, like, PlayStation games are just more popular than Xbox games. Sunset Overdrive made a whopping $50 profit, which is kind of insane. But I don't think you need $200 game I don't think you need to make games for $200 million. We just saw Gears of War Judgment was made for $60 million, although that's also with 3 games worth of, history. Another big problem, especially for Xbox, is how many contractors and outside developers they have. Like, say with Gears 5, if I'm remembering right, roughly anywhere from a third to 3/5 of the team working on Gears 5 at any given time was made up exclusively of contractors, which means that there are people who come in, they get contracted to work on this game for 6 months to a year, and then they work on, whatever department they're in. And instead of having a solid workflow where in the past, like Gears of War 1, you have 80-something Epic Games developers sitting together and making this game. And then they come up with their workflow, their pipeline, everything they need to make stuff efficiently, and they're working with the same tools on the same project. That's why Gears of War 2, you go to Gears of War 2, it's basically Gears of War 1 with extra stuff tacked onto it, and then you go into Gears 3, and it's more of the same, where it kind of feels more like Gears 1 and 2, because they're kind of just figuring out how to make the foundation, and then once you have that foundation, it's easier to build up into it. And then like Judgment, where you have new people coming on, everything kind of gets mixed up a little bit. And that's where you get like disconnect between Gears 3 and Judgment, whereas even though Judgment is kind of Gears of War 3.5, it still has a lot of different changes, and not everything is the same. You can see that same kind of thing in God of War 2018 to God of War Ragnarok, where 2018 was like their foundation. It took them like 6 years to make that game, and then it took them 4 years to make God of War Ragnarok, because they had their pipeline, they had their systems, they had everything set up to where they could just go over and make Ragnarok. Now with a game like Gears 5 or Gears 4, where you have a third of your staff is made of contractors and stuff like that, you go from Gears 4, you're trying to build your foundation, you're trying to get everyone on the same page, and then a third of your workforce leaves. And then you get a new third of your workforce that you have to get back up to speed, fit them into the pipeline, and then they leave. And then now you have to make this other project. You get another new third of people that you have to fit into your pipeline, where you're also trying to do new stuff. Then they leave, and then you get another third of your workforce back, new people that you got to get into the pipeline, and then they leave, and so on and so forth until you finally slog through. And that's why you have games like the gap between Gears 4 and 5 was the longest gap of any Gears game, I believe. And then now the gap between Gears 5 and Gears E-Day is the longest gap, because not only do they have that issue of like they don't have a foundation that they're working off of going forward with the same team, that like all of the leadership has been recycled. They don't have the same director. They don't have the same director of PvP or PvE or of the community or anything like that. It's all disconnected and being rewritten as they go, and they have to kind of make that back up, and that's what adds to the cost a lot too. Like, I believe one of the main reasons Halo Infinite ended up costing $500 million is that they had like 2 or 3 different directors come onto the project, leave the project. The next director has to come on and kind of assimilate what the previous director's vision for the game was, and then go forward with their new directive, and then they leave. Another director comes on, and that third director now has to kind of assimilate the visions of these past directors and then also move forward with his own. And that's why the directions of these games seem to wildly change from like when Halo Infinite was announced to where it is now, 4 or 5 years after launch. And again, that inflates the cost, and now Halo Infinite costs $500 million, even though it doesn't feel like a $500 million game. Like God of War Ragnarok, or Baldur's Gate feel like a $500 million game, but I tell you what, I don't think it cost them $500 million to make Baldur's Gate 3. It's just they have a more solid foundation that they're working on and working towards because, you know, Larian really does respect their community and their developers. That's what... I'm not going to remember his whole name. Sven, the CEO, came out to say at the Game Awards. He was like, hey, treat your player base and your developers with respect and you'll have a banging game. And for some reason that was controversial. But that's like the main thing. Yap Sesh in full swing. You're damn right. We're 30 minutes in, 2 minutes into the video. That's how it go, baby. I have to make up for the fact that I wasn't yapping for the first hour or so because I just wasn't here. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But at the end of the day, I do think when they say, oh, raising development costs or market conditions, whatever the fuck, it's Microsoft. They can pay for a nuclear, like their own private nuclear, reactor. They they don't care. They just need to meet market expectations for shareholders and shit like that. But
they haven't made a good game in over 2 console generations now. None of their first-party games have been worth a damn.
Well, hold on. First of all, I quite liked Gears of War 4 and Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive was an Xbox One launch title. I love Sunset Overdrive. There's a whole video I made about it. I want you to stream, and I want you to watch my video on Sunset Overdrive. I loved Sunset Overdrive. That's maybe the only one, unless like we retroactively count their first-party games, like throwing, Doom and Fallout. Well, not Fallout, but like Doom in there and shit like that. But obviously, it's not really... I mean, Halo Infinite was neat. It was like a solid 7. I think the campaign was like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't bad. I can stream and watch your reaction to my video. Yeah, we can do that. Content and just go around in a circle. And then you react to me reacting to you reacting to my video. And then I'll react to you reacting to me reacting to you reacting to my video. And we just Russian nesting egg doll. What? Russian nesting egg doll? Egg nest doll? What is the order of that word? We just keep going around and around and around in an Ouroboros of shitty content. And that'll be the weekly stream from then on out. I don't even remember what the fuck I was saying. But yeah, out of like first party titles, Sunset Overdrive, I liked Gears 4. Gears 5, I don't love, but I don't hate it. Gears Tactics, I like. Halo Infinite, I like. Senua Saga, that's a pretty bitchin' game. I was going to say Plague Tale, but I don't think that's first party because that's a Focus Entertainment game. I can't actually think of any others. Doom the Dark Ages comes out in like a week. But I don't think they haven't had any worthwhile first party games. Have they had as many as like a competitor such as Sony? No. But there's a couple.
All they can do is acquire companies and then put them to task on these stupid projects that make them absolutely no money. Where the fuck is Rareware right now? Obviously, they're still working on Sea of Thieves, but does anybody actually look at Sea of Thieves as like a great game that champions the Rareware name?
I don't think people associate with Rare as much, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone say like anything bad about Sea of Thieves. I feel like it was fairly popular. It's also a hard thing to gauge with Xbox games because so many of them are on like Game Pass. It's hard to gauge how much of it is just the domination of Game Pass on Xbox and even on like PC and stuff versus how many people are just enjoying the game. But I remember when like Sea of Thieves was like one of their first exclusives they dropped on PlayStation. And I remember seeing, at least like on TikTok and stuff, like a lot of positive reaction to that when it dropped.
For Xbox? No. Instead, they had them working on Kinect games for years. Where the fuck is this like perfect dark game that's been saying that it's coming for the last 2 generations now? Halo wasn't even good on Halo 5 for the Xbox One. Then Halo Infinite comes out and it bombs, it fails because it was trend chasing, yet somehow didn't have the trends in them. How do you fucking release without a battle royale? Gears of
I feel like they said a lot of times that Halo Infinite was going to have a battle royale. Wasn't that the big thing in like 2019 that the director at the time for Halo Infinite said the only BR we're interested in is battle rifle? I I feel like there's critiques of the the biggest disconnect I'm having right now is that like it feels like a hollow shit onto Xbox in general, which seems to be the outward opinion I see from a lot of people that don't even play on Xbox and stuff. But like there are valid things to be mad at Halo Infinite about and things like that, and critiques to have about Halo Infinite. But like getting like that I just don't understand the critique of it was a trend chaser, but then no, actually it didn't even have a battle royale. But like I know very firmly that ICE is not in the population of gamers who want battle royales. So I'm confused on the criticism on that one. Is the fact that it cost $500 million too much money, and the campaign was kind of, I don't know, I thought it was a decent time. It was maybe a little bit drawn out, but you wanted the battle royale, the Halo BR. Maybe. You're like, they're gonna have a Halo battle royale. That's fucking stupid. And then it comes out, there's no Halo battle royale. What the fuck?
The War E-Day is around the corner, and thank God Microsoft delayed that one, so that way now they can charge us $80.
Did E-Day get delayed? Battle passes, lack of Slayer, matchmaking, live service, chin chasing, free to play multiplayer. I don't think free to play multiplayer is like a trend. I think it's just good for the health of a game, especially a multiplayer game. I think having the campaign be paid for and the free to play thing, the seasonal model, I wasn't too up. I think that's also because Halo Infinite had the same issue that Gears 5 did, where like the leadership changed while they were trying to do the seasonal stuff. So yeah, that does suck. But like free to play multiplayer, and like the microtransactions, like I was talking about that earlier when I was talking about game pricings, when you were bringing it up earlier in the video. But like the free to play multiplayer doesn't bother me because I think it's, especially for like a multiplayer that's supposed to be live service, I think it's ultimately good for the game because it means that like there's a lot of people who will play a game like Halo and never touch the story. There's people who never played the story in Gears of War. There's people who like play Call of Duty and they're like, this game has a story mode. What the fuck? Like they're just there for the multiplayer. So by making the multiplayer free, not only are you like not like people aren't worried about like having this extra thing that they're never gonna interact with, or like kind of like feeling like they're paying for this thing they'd never have to interact with, but it means people who like would have been on the fence about jumping into the multiplayer kind of just, I don't know. Wasn't your statement? Well, trend chasing, but like is trend chasing like the most? I know everything else, like the lack of Slayer and skill-based matchmaking, that's like a personal thing. Deceptive monetization. I wouldn't call it deceptive, but it is definitely like manipulative. I guess deceptive if you have like, especially if they have like the third-party credit system or whatever the fuck. I think Marvel Rivals is getting bad in that way too. But like, at least the biggest thing I can give it is like I will ignore it when it's in like a free to play thing. When it's in a free to play thing, like Marvel Rivals has a lot of that too. But Marvel Rivals is a damn good game for free. Like it's only manipulative if you're like able to be bought into it, which for a lot of younger people, it's a lot easier to manipulate them specifically on skins and stuff like that. That's why Fortnite makes $1 bajillion. But I feel like the audience that's jumping into Halo for the multiplayer isn't the kind of audience that gets pressured into buying skins for the sake of it. You know what I mean? But it's also like, when it comes to free-to-play games, I don't necessarily hold the same standards versus like where I was talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a $70 game that launched day one as a single-player game with 4 $20 a piece DLCs on day one. Like that, I judge way more harshly, or a game that is $60, $70, $80 like Call of Duty that also has the extreme overpriced monetization and stuff like that, and the greedy kind of manipulative monetization. In a game like that, I care a lot more than like free-to-play games, because free-to-play games I can at least give them, like, they've got to pay for the game somehow. Do I think it needs to be as expensive or as like, manipulative, where you like have to spend $10 to get you, like the minimum you can spend is $10 for $10 worth of coins, but all the skins are made of $7 worth of coins, so you have to buy 3 things of coins to make sure that it evens out just so you can get the one thing. Like that's like that's where it fucking sucks. Talk about Halo, the game that is synonymous with Xbox, the standards should be higher. That's also true. But that's why, like, for me, most of that Halo experience was the campaign. Like, I didn't grow up on Halo multiplayer, so Halo multiplayer doesn't mean as much to me. That's why, like, Gears is more for, like, that for me. I think Gears 5 is a better game for the player than Halo Infinite is. But in the same vein, I think the Halo Infinite game itself and the campaign was a lot more fun and enjoyable than Gears 5's campaign, as, like, a hardcore Gears fan. But yeah, the standards should be higher. And it's like, it's again with the thing of like, it's a game that cost $500 million, and people go into it being like, this is a game that cost $500 million to make, this better blow my fucking pants off. And then it's just sort of like, it's okay. It's kind of like a 7 out of 10 at its like best, maybe an 8 out of 10 when it's doing really, really well. But it doesn't feel like a $500,000 game. But yeah, I think there's definitely worse Xbox first-party titles that have come out. But yeah, it should. The fact that, like, it would be so easy for them to make a game that is, like, that would work out. In the way that games like God of War have had, like, an entire resurgence. I bought a whole ass PS5 to play games like God of War and Last of Us and shit like that. And the fact that Xbox just can't manage that when they have the money to throw around, like they have the money to go and like buy a studio like Bethesda and id Games and Machine Games to make games for them, or basically pay for them to continue making the games they would have made, but on the Xbox brand. But they can't like just pay for their own studios to put the proper work in to make good games. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like they're too hands off with studios like the Coalition in a weird way. And it hurts. I bought a PS5 to play the... Yeah, like... I mean, this was talking about earlier, where I was like, you said, like, games don't have to be $200 million. And it's like, every single one of those PlayStation games, Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man, what are the other big ones? Ghost of Tsushima, all of those games would be games that cost $100 million plus. But they're really good games. So, like, they make it up by people who go in to buy... I mean, like, the console to begin with is like a loss leader. But, like, these games have big budgets, but they make use of those big budgets where you have a studio like the Coalition, which is kind of... it feels mismanaged, at least from the outside looking in. It feels mismanaged. And even though they have big budgets for stuff, they can't, like, pull anything off with it. So I don't think, like, games being cheaper... The biggest thing about, like, games being cheaper and stuff like that is, like, the argument of, like, oh, we have to raise prices because gaming costs are going up. But, like, that's bullshit. It's just they want you to pay $80 for a game. Do I think Microsoft relies too much on Halo and Gears? I think they don't rely enough on Halo and Gears. Like, they don't give those studios any love. There's so many people especially in the games industry, the large game industry that there is, that probably grew up with games like Halo and Gears of War. I mean, like, look at Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 was like kind of like a love letter to those kind of simple 360 games that had a tacked on multiplayer mode and everything. That, like, if you got Saber Interactive, or whoever's leading Saber Interactive, to be like, hey, do you want to make a Gears of War game? That would make a pretty decent Gears of War game. Or they would do pretty well with that IP. At least I believe. But, like, they just don't, for whatever reason. And they're not, like, protective of it. Like, there is too protective. Like, I think, what do you call it? Games Workshop, speaking of Warhammer, are like a little too protective of their brand, and that means like all of their games and stuff are really faithful to the lore and faithful to the designs and the established like identity of Warhammer. But that means the only stuff that's coming out is really shit stuff that's really carefully put together, or it's something like Space Marine 2 that does well, but because Games Workshop is so protective of their IP, it takes them like 8 months to add a shoulder pad, because the shoulder pad has to be checked for authenticity by Games Workshop themselves to make sure it can get added to the game, and it really fucks things over. And I think with like Xbox, they're like not protective enough, where like they kind of just have their devs doing whatever the fuck, and it's like, come on, guys, put together a Gears game. I feel like it can't be that hard. And it's like you see the people that were working on Gears of War. Like, think of like, what's his full name? Dana something. The guy who was our community leader at Gears of War. And like there was a conversation when they were unboxing, I think it was the PDP Lancer, the Crimson Lancer that they made for Gears 5, the collectible, where they were talking about whatever. And I think he mixed up Halo 3 with Gears 3 or something. And he was like, yeah, on the PlayStation. And it's like, did you just say Halo 3 on the PlayStation 3? Are you fucking like, how do you work at an Xbox first party studio and you don't know what console like Halo 3 was on? Like, I've never even played Halo 3. I probably played through the campaign once. I've never even played Halo 3. And obviously, it's an Xbox 360. Like, there's no world in which it was on PlayStation. It wasn't even like a mix-up or anything. He just got it wrong. He was just stupid. You know, there's things like that. Or there was one time where they had, I'm also going to forget his name. I don't have my book on me. They had the author for the Gears of War Ascendance book on. He was doing like an interview, like, you know, an in-house interview to pump up the book and stuff like that and answer questions for the community. And he was correcting the author of the book on his own book while sitting in front of him, while the author was trying to correct him and be like, no, actually, it's like this. I wrote the book. And he was like, no, it was this. And it's like, how is this the guy that we have in charge of anything? Like, it's just a community, but how is he in charge of anything? And it's like, you see that kind of mismanagement. It's like, not mismanagement, but like bad like like these are not the kind of people like that should be working on the games like this. And then you go over to like the PlayStation side of things. You see, didn't he also do Judgment? Dana was not on Judgment. No, I don't believe so. I don't even think he was on for Gears 4. He was only for Gears 5. Like I said, they were constantly getting new people on, getting rid of them, and getting other new people on. We even got somebody to replace him. I'm going to forget her name. TC Sarah was her scream name on like the forums and stuff, but even she came in to replace Dana like halfway through Gears 5's life cycle, and I think since then she has moved on to other projects. So like they're constantly recycling different people. But like you compare that to the PlayStation camp, and I look at like Santa Monica and Cory Barlog, who's, you know, the creative director on God of War Ragnarok and the game director of God of War 2018. You see him like sit down and do like these long documentaries and interviews about God of War, and like whether or not you like it or hate it, or you like the North stuff or the other stuff, whatever, but like you see him sit down and talk about it, and it's like, oh, this is a guy who has a lot of passion and a lot of like himself built into these characters, which whether or not you like or hate the story or anything like that, it objectively will make for a better story and a better game than one where you see like Rod Ferguson in an interview for Gears 5, and he's like, yeah, it's Gears of War, and we've got this new escape mode, and it's you can you're in the middle of a swarm hive, and you can shoot your way out, and you have low ammo, and yeah, we've worked really hard on this, and yeah, Gears 5 escape mode, yeah, and it's like, that's how he talks, and it's like, does not feel like a guy who is like super passionate to get this project out there and to like bring Gears 5 back into the limelight. It sounds like a guy who's a producer who's trying to sell me on a game, but like he doesn't even have the charisma to back it up. And so it's like he doesn't have like that charisma. He doesn't have like the authenticity of like wanting to like really work on this project. I think that's like for all his faults and all of his like narcissistic tendencies. Like that's the one thing Cliffy B was good at, was that he was, you know, somewhat passionate and really involved in like the history and how Gears of War was like set out. Where it's like you see interviews of him in like 2005 or whatever, and he's like really into the whole vibe and aesthetics and stuff of the game that you just don't get in like the newer games and stuff like that. God of War 4 writer has a history with the series. Yeah, he directed the first game, I'm pretty sure. Said Gears E-Day was delayed. Oh, Fable was delayed. Okay, I was gonna say we didn't even get a release date for Gears E-Day, but yeah, I thought that was odd.
For it, it's more of this like corporate greed that's just been bugging me about the.
Is that the Mario music? Hold on, is that the Mario Underground music? It hit me like a truck.
Gaming industry, and it's really starting to piss me off that people are defending these corporations because they bought the plastic box that has that brand on it, and they think they're the ones who have to defend it because otherwise they themselves look like they're stupid for having spent their money on it. And I don't care about Xbox versus PlayStation. I'm a big fan of the PS4. I had the PS3, I had a PS2, I've had all the PlayStations, I've had all the Xboxes, other than the Series console, because there's no value in the Series console for me as a gamer when I've got that big boy of PC back there. You know, this isn't an Xbox versus PlayStation thing, because right around the corner, we all know Sony's gonna do the exact same fucking thing. In a couple of weeks, they're gonna announce that their games are also gonna be $80. And what we'll have to look forward to is $80 for maybe a third God of War if they end up making it, or a third Horizon game. And really the sad part about all this is that we know that people are going to come out and they're going to defend this. They're going to come out and they're going to say that it's fine for Microsoft and for all these companies to release their games at $80. They'll go out and they'll buy the digital deluxe editions where they don't even get anything physical. They're just getting a digital copy of the game with some added stuff, some added skins, or maybe even a soundtrack, and they're going to be willing to go spend $100 on that game. At this point, I think everyone's expecting GTA 6 could come out and say that it's a $100 price tag. I love this hobby. I love video.
See, again, the thing there, again, I think GTA 6 is a bad example of the increased price, because for some games, I could justify, I mean, this is person to person. Like, I'm a person who really enjoys the back-end development, like beauty and art of making a game, and especially a game that's like really astounding. I've bought Baldur's Gate 3 times. I bought it for me, I bought it for my fiance, and I bought it again on the Xbox because I originally bought it on the my PlayStation, and I had no issue buying it 3 times because that's a game I would happily spend, you know, $240 on, $210 on, because it was just a great game. It's not like bogged down with microtransactions. I spent a solid week and a half. I just happened to take like a week-long vacation where I was like, I'm going to do nothing but make YouTube videos and get stuff done. And then I bought Baldur's Gate 3 on like the Saturday at the beginning of the week, and I didn't do a single thing all week long. I did nothing but play that goddamn game. Or even like God of War Ragnarok. Like God of War Ragnarok, I don't think it's necessarily the same as Baldur's Gate, but I did end up buying it, and then I bought it a second time when I bought like the $200 collector's edition, just because I liked the game that much. And I think GTA 6 will probably be the same. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely a game that a lot of people would pay like $80 for and not really feel ripped off. The biggest problem is that, like, It's not that some games will be $80. Because, like, I could probably see, I mean, is it nicer to pay like $30 less to pay $70 for a game than like $100? Obviously. But like, if GTA 6 came out with like $100 price tag, I don't know if I would necessarily dog on GTA, especially if it's like single, like the single player doesn't have any like the biggest, I mean, obviously the online will have a fuckload of microtransactions and things like that. But if the single player is as good, if not better, than like how Red Dead Redemption 2 turned out, I don't think that like $100 price tag is from Rockstar asking too much. But the problem is not that certain games don't deserve like a higher price tag or couldn't justify it, but it's the issue of like once you standardize it and like you're being asked for $80 for Assassin's Creed Shadows and you're being asked for $80 for GTA 6, like one of those games barely deserves to be $50, let alone like $80, you know? And that's really like, that's the biggest issue for me is like the standardization of it. They'll say 80 for the single player and 20 for the online. They might separate them out the gate, because I know like now you can do that on the Series S and the PlayStation, at least. Like you can buy GTA Online as a separate game for like $20. That wouldn't surprise me if they're like $80 for the base game and then like $20 or like a $10 upgrade if you already have the base game or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd almost like that better because I don't even touch GTA Online. I just like the single player shit. That also got delayed, so we're not getting that until, I think it got delayed in May 2026, so almost exactly a year. Hopefully now that means we'll get the what do you call it? The release date for Gears of War E-Day. If they were holding back on that to wait for the GTA 6 launch date, hopefully that means that now we'll learn like when all of these unannounced games are going to come out at the end of this year. When they launched GTA 5, online wasn't released. Yeah, I do remember that. I think it was the same for Red Dead. I believe Red Dead 2 online didn't come for like a few, maybe like 2 to 3 months after. Or they're just saying buzzwords, saying business tycoons. Yeah, like most of it is also them justifying it to their shareholders more so than like consumers a lot of the time. Like fucking the Ubisoft guy saying it's a quadruple A game. Like nobody gives a shit about if your game is double A or triple A or quadruple A. Like you're saying it's like why every company now says powered with AI or powered by AI. It's because when you're trying to get investors and shareholders for like these big tech giants, AI is the new fancy shiny thing. So if you slap powered with AI, even though these companies have had AI algorithms for a decade now if you slap powered by AI on it, you get a lot more people being like, oh, it's AI, and then they invest in it, which is fucking stupid to begin with, but all of it's dumb.
Video games, it fucking pisses me off to no extent that we're gonna have these games that are being charged so much and they're not even delivering more value than games that came out 15 years ago. That's pretty much the end of my rant. I'm gonna go back to playing more Xbox 360 games. I recently picked up a copy of Duke Nukem Forever for like $6 at my local game store. I know the game sucks, but it's still gonna be better than any of the shit Microsoft's gonna shove down our throats for the next year, especially at $80.
Yeah.
What a fucking joke.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it sucks, but... Anyways. Now we move on to Heresy. Is Dante's Inferno Heresy? Wasn't it actually written by a dude in the church, like the original one? I mean, I don't know if the video game counts as Heresy. Maybe. But this is... It took us, what? An hour to get through that 5-minute video? So this one, it's an hour long. It'll take me at least 5 hours to watch this. Just be thankful. Like, I don't know if anyone's paying attention to like the BreadTube bullshit. Like you have like Hassan and Ethan, like whatever, doing their fucking 4-hour long debate bullshit I watch that on my own because I find it fucking hilarious. We're never watching something like that on stream. A, because I'm not really qualified to talk on stuff like Palestine. B, we would be here all day.
Dante's Inferno, a hack and slash title released by Visceral Games under Electronic Arts all the way back in 2010. Inspired by the first part of Italian poet Dante Alighieri's 14th century Divine Comedy, this take on the classic casts Dante as a war-hardened crusader. Armed with the scythe from Death Incarnate and the holy cross of his beloved Beatrice, Dante descends the 9 circles of hell to save the soul of his murdered wife from the clutches of Lucifer. As Dante plunges into the depths of madness, despair, and everlasting damnation, he must come face to face with his family's transgressions.
Oh. That's his skin? Is that his skin? I thought that was a fucking white tunic. It looks like it's his skin.
And the consequences of his own sins to save the innocent soul of Beatrice. Dante's Inferno was released in February of 2010 for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and apparently a heavily downscaled version came out for the PSP. Alongside the game came a slew of transmedia products, including a comic book series published by DC Comics. There was also an animated film which I wasn't aware of at the time, so I found it and I watched it so I can include its references into this video. When Dante's Inferno released, reviewers wrote it off as a God of War clone and turned its "Go to Hell" tagline against it. But did the reviews really get it right? Fans of the game have clawed at the scraps of the series, hoping for a continuation or revival. But with the closure of Visceral Games in 2017 and EA's massive shift in focus to live service offerings and surprise mechanics, Dante's Inferno's fate seems to be lost in the deep circles of IP hell. In this video, I'll be breaking down the mechanics, describing the story, discussing the over-the-top marketing campaigns, and looping in references to the animated film, all to analyze whether Dante's Inferno deserved its damnation. So it's time to cheat death, steal his scythe to destroy demons, use the power of Christ to cleanse the souls of the damned, and battle through the 9 circles of hell to kill Lucifer and save the beloved Beatrice. All while being guided by the shade of the poet Virgil as I lose my mind and spiral into covering every single detail to answer the question, was Dante's Inferno actually good? If you enjoy these kinds of videos, help me out for free by clicking the like button and subscribing for more videos. A massive thank you to all my channel members who support me on my journey. You can join these amazing individuals on screen and support the channel for as little as $1 a month. A link is in the pinned comment. Now, before we dive into the game, let's briefly cover the history of how Dante's Inferno came to life. EA's Redwood Shores studio was founded in 1998 and released only a handful of titles between 98 and 2008. In the meantime, the studio was really trying to get their hands on producing original IP, an effort that would eventually culminate in Dead Space, released in 2009. After Dead Space's success, the studio was rebranded to Visceral Games. While one team at Visceral was working on Dead Space, another team was laying the groundwork for Dante's Inferno, a character action game set in the world of the Divine Comedy. So why did they use the Divine Comedy? Well, it's already a public domain work of art that had lots of visual imagery that's already produced, so the team can just shortcut a lot of the typical IP generation steps. Also, being a public domain work of art, it's free to use. Before release, the marketers had an absolute field day with Dante's Inferno. The most popular commercial for the game aired during Super Bowl 44, only 3 days prior to the game's release. In the 30-second commercial, Dante is seen diving into hell and fighting the demons while Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers plays. Obviously, I can't play the song here because copyright is a bitch, and so is your mom. It's a bit of an odd choice for this type of game,
but
I mean, if you're a marketer, you're used to inhaling your own farts and your brain cells are probably fried, so this sounds...
A lot of Christians will hate this game. Dude, they fucking hate D&D. Going back and seeing some of like the anti-D&D ads from like the 70s blows my mind every time. Oh yeah, they hate everything. Although I think Dante's Inferno is like, that's what I was saying, like I don't think it's like I think it was written by a dude who is obviously like super Catholic. Maybe the game, because the game is a bastardization, but I know like the entire like idea of hell as like this burning, you know, place of hellfire and brimstone is something that comes from Dante's Inferno. If I'm remembering right, I don't even believe like the contemporary idea of what hell even is was something that was widely accepted as like, you know, hell and hellfire and eternal damnation until the Divine Comedy came out to begin with.
Sounds like a pretty good idea. Beyond the traditional ad campaigns, the team decided to dive into the concept of sins and the circles of hell. One such campaign was mailing journalists a $200 check in the mail. Cashing the check was meant to signify greed. Some people pushed back on this by burning the checks or by donating the money to charities. This looks especially bad once you realize that they're literally paying reviewers and journalists. They also shipped boxes to journalists that would rickroll them when they opened it. The song would just loop over and over until the box was smashed, at which point the unfortunate souls would learn that they'd succumb to the sin of wrath. But it gets even worse.
I don't know, you say worse, that's fucking amazing. I love that. I'm gonna start shipping people rickroll bombs.
2009 San Diego Comic-Con, the marketing team decided to invite convention attendees to commit acts of lust with any of the models or booth babes at the convention. Yeah,
okay, now
they
that's
did this.
kinda...
One winner would receive a dinner and a sinful night, whatever that means, with 2 hot girls, a limo service, and a chest full of booty, while 5 runners-up would win a copy of the game, a $240 gift card, and some free swag. Obviously, this didn't go over very well because it pretty much just looked like EA telling people to harass women at the convention, even if the instructional leaflet said to only take a picture with the women. And the icing on the entire shitty marketing cake was when they hired actors to act as Christian protesters protesting the game outside of E3 2009. Complete with signs calling EA the Antichrist, the entire thing was accurately spotted by most people as a marketing hoax that eventually led to real backlash from Christian groups that would call it an anti-Christian stunt in protest. The irony is palpable. Credit where credit's due. There were 2 really brilliant ideas that they ran with. The first was making a fake Wii game called Mass We Pray. Advertised to families looking for wholesome faith-based games to enjoy together. The motion-controlled game would allow the players to pray in church and interact in church sermons. There was absolutely no reference at all to Dante's Inferno in the...
It looks like one of the fake ads from The Boys. I love that you include like the marketing shit, because it's either like really, really stupid or it's like or it's like a decent thing. I do love, like, there are a lot of like ads and stuff for games that I think are like that right level of like goofy. Like the Rickroll thing, I think that's fucking amazing. I think that's fantastic. But like there's stuff like this that's like, you know, it's fake, but it's just funny, like seeing the cross-shaped Wii remotes. It's like, it's the kind of stuff that reminds me of like I remember like the Alexios Alexa, the thing they did for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where it was like they replaced like the Amazon Alexa with Alexios, and it's just this fucking 6-foot Spartan like blowing a war horn into the kid's ear to wake him up for school. I kind of like that. Or like the ads they did for Shadow of War, the Middle-earth game, where you have like, eat it, Terry, and it's like the fucking orcs fucking harassing this random dude for 60 years. They did one thing for each of the 9 circles of hell. That makes sense. You know, so what they should have done for Lust is they should have started the Jerkmate ranked championship. They should have been the ones to kick off Jerkmate ranked, you know. That would have been that would have been Lust, you know. Make guys gay masturbate at each other to prove that they're the most lustful, rather than having them just harass random women at a convention center. Oh man.
Commercials. And when going to purchase the game, you'd instead end up on a website that would call you a heretic and play a trailer for Dante's Inferno, and give links to a Facebook app called Go to Hell for sending weird hell-related messages to your friends. Good God, I do not miss that era of random app messages on Facebook. The other really great campaign was a fake company created called Hawk Panther.
Hello, I'm Les Singer, and I've developed a system that's going to teach you how to suppress society's false belief systems that are keeping you lonely.
That the alpha male takes what he wants, anything he wants.
His best friend's girlfriend, his
the fact that even like the what do you call it, satirical alpha male bullshit from, what was this, 2009, 15 years ago, the fact that like the unironic messaging from alpha males hasn't changed a fucking dime. An alpha male takes what he wants. It's oh man, it's great.
worker's fiance, his brother's wife.
Go to my website right now, and I will teach you how to become the Hawk Panther.
Visiting the company's site would allow you to steal your best friend's girlfriend, I guess. And clicking the link to perceive would give a message stating treachery, condemning you to the 9th circle of hell. Really, the best part about these fake campaigns is that they in no way tied themselves to Dante's Inferno, and the only way to discover the connection was to go to the site. Dante's Inferno's release came at the height of popularity
Coltrane
for
is
the
not an
character
alpha
action
male. He's
genre,
not that
releasing
kind of
only
guy.
1 month before the conclusion of Kratos'
Named
journey
Bear.
in God of War 3. And that pretty much sealed Dante's Inferno's fate to be forever compared
They played the Hawk Panther ad during WWE Raw. Yeah, that's the audience. That's the dude. The people who are going like to WWE Raw, they're the people like there's a website you can get me to fuck my best friend's wife. Hell yeah! Like that's the that's the exact audience you want for that ad. That's fantastic.
to Sony Santa Monica Studios' epic finale. When Dante's Inferno released, it garnered pretty okay reviews, mostly 6s and 7s, with reviewers praising the depictions of hell and the creativity displayed in presenting the descent into hell.
So I think it's mainly the scythe, but it feels like a cross between God of War and what do you call it? Darksiders. I mean, getting like Darksiders, mainly it's because it's like the theological, like Darksiders is also big on like the Christian theology with like the 4 horsemen and everything. We're going to be here for 3 hours. What? It's only been like 10 minutes and we're 6 minutes into the video. I'm not doing too bad. I just don't want to like, I feel bad about it to like let the video play while I sit here. But it gives me like, because it's like got like the Christian theology thing going on versus, God of War, obviously the Greek stuff. It gives me more like almost like Darksiders with like a God of War skin rather than like a straight God of War ripoff, if that makes sense.
But the reviewers felt that the game dragged in its final stages, and rather than building to an epic finale, it felt like it was just padded for length. And the inescapable comparisons to the God of War series left it written off as nothing more than a God of War clone. And whether the game should be compared to God of War is very much up for debate.
We can get into Darksiders and never get more than halfway through the first game. There's your mistake. I've only ever played Darksiders 2. I love that game. Now, the thing about Darksiders 2 is that the midpoint is really fucking boring, but the first half of the game and the last half of the game are fantastic. I find it greater because, like, the world building... Make sure I didn't hit my microphone. The world building... And, like, the universe of Darksiders is more original than, like, Dante's Inferno, where it's not just straight up, like, Christian heaven and hell. Like, there's more fantasy written into it. And, I mean, as long as you, like, play Darksiders 2 and you're not, like if you're, like, paying attention, Darksiders 1 isn't that complex. Like, you get caught up on the story pretty easily. And I think it's just a better game in general. I think White Lights, he's got a full, like, 3-hour breakdown of Darksiders 2. And every once in a while, I'll, like once every other year or something, I'll watch that 3-hour video and I'll be like, man, I really want to play Darksiders 2. And I'll play through the game. It's just a lot of fun. It's also more like White Light compares it to Zelda. I'm not big on Zelda, but it is more like fantasy light RPG than it is God of War. I don't know how much that compares to Darksiders 1. I know Darksiders 3 isn't as great. It's not bad. It's just not as great. Like, you would expect it to be better, but it's just not. But, like, I feel like Darksiders 2 has a great sense of, like, mixing in puzzles, like actual puzzles, with the combat and everything like that. And that made it a fun time if you like a game like that. Versus, like, being like a God of War clone that is just straight up action. Or for the most part action, in the same way that, like, the Conan the Barbarian game was when you played that.
Unfortunately for Jonathan and his team, the damage was already done, and Dante's Inferno wouldn't sell very many units. And spoilers for up ahead, but Dante's Inferno didn't sell well enough to get a sequel, despite the game ending with a to be continued screen.
Damn.
In some interviews with developers years later, those involved said that there actually was a finished script and at least one playable chapter for the sequel, but these would never see the light of day. In the years since release, the fans of Dante's Inferno...
I love the God of War soundtrack. It's like stealing my attention because I love that soundtrack so much, but I love its inclusion.
Inferno, myself included, have been craving a sequel or a remake of some sort. Even as recently as February of 2025, articles
Dude,
are...
music for me in games, up there. Like, there's a reason why, like, I make sure to include the music that I'm using in all of my videos. Like, you can see in all, like, the chapter titles and stuff. Buster, yeah, dude. I listen, like, the amount of music I listen to is, most of it is like, dude, I've been listening to the Crude soundtrack this week. Like, a lot of the music I listen to is soundtracks off rip, mainly game soundtracks. Just because I really like that kind of music. I mean, I grew up playing like orchestra music and stuff like that. Like, I first started on saxophone, and then I moved to cello, and then I moved to contrabass. So it's like that kind of music has always been something I'm into. And then, like, going forward and playing through games, like, a game could be like a 6 out of 10. And then if it has a killer fucking soundtrack, it's an 8 out of 10 for me, baby. Like, that's all it needs to, like, keep me invested. Like, Plague Tale. I mean, Plague Tale I did like. I like Plague Tale. It's like a solid 7 or 8 to begin with. But, like, there's a moment at, like, the end of the first act of Plague Tale Innocence where it's like the first time you kill somebody, there's this really intense music that has like scraping chains and these really thick like strings and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like fucking ear cocaine, you know? So it's like, not only do I already like that kind of music and I listen to it a lot, and I listen to the God of War one a lot, because this specific, I don't know if this is the specific track, but there is they reused the same piece in God of War Ragnarok in the Valhalla expansion thing, whatever, add-on. It's free, so it's not like an expansion. But they use all of the music from God of War 3 and God of War 1 in the Valhalla stuff for when you like have like the Greek nightmares and stuff like that. So it's like I've been listening to the Valhalla version of the Greek music, and it's like one that's going to stick with me forever. Plague Tale in the back burner. Yeah, I've been meaning to play Requiem. It's just, I don't have time. Like, Requiem, and I haven't even played, like, Senua's Saga 2. Senua's Saga Hellblade, the first one, was such a fantastic game. I sat down and I played that entire game in one sitting. Mainly because I was, like, dying and bedridden. I had nothing else to do. But, like, I played that game in one sitting, and I fucking loved it. Same thing with, like, Plague Tale. I played that in, like, maybe 2 sittings, and I loved that whole thing. Like, it was kind of, like... I think the writing was a bit off, definitely towards the end. It's like, it kind of has like the, what do you call it? It feels like a lot of the 360, it feels like a lot of 360 games where it's like there's a story building and it's like, okay, I see where this is going. And then it's like, it like jumps the shark immediately. And it's like, okay, what the fuck just happened? And if you play through the game, you will know what I'm talking about when you get to the end, because it does really kind of come out of nowhere. But everything going on with like the light mechanics and the puzzles and the rats and everything like that, I just love that game. And the soundtrack. I fucking love that soundtrack. I use it in a lot of my videos. I just need to sit down and play Requiem. It's just got like a very unique style of gameplay. So like I'll start playing Requiem and then I'll put it down and I won't touch it for like 2-3 months, and I pick it up and I'm like, where the fuck am I? How do I play this game? What the fuck am I doing? And then I get upset and then I like leave. I have to like sit down and like play the whole thing all the way through. But I can't even play the same game for 2 weeks on stream back to back. How the fuck am I going to play a game on my own in the background? Like, I just don't have the time for this shit.
Are being written by passionate fans hoping to restore the game's reputation in hopes of getting EA's attention. Throughout this video, I'll be showing the gameplay along with the relevant cutscenes. Since the Xbox 360 version is part of Xbox's backwards compatibility program, I replayed it on the Xbox One X for the improved visuals for this video. The game starts with a simple introductory text card. There's not even a voiceover, which is a really odd choice to make the player read when adapting a book, or in this case, a poem, into an interactive audio and visual medium. The year is 1191, and under orders from King Richard, the Knights of the Third Crusade have captured 3,000 Kurdish civilians. The innocent hostages are being held as ransom for a holy relic that's taken by King Saladin. The holy relic is believed to be the cross used for Christ's crucifixion. Dante, as captain of the Crusaders, stands guard over the hostages. When a group of the hostages escapes and launches a revolt, we take control of Dante as he dispatches the attackers. Gameplay is pretty typical for a character action game. The camera is fixed to one position, showing an epic landscape in the background and a small enclosed area for the combat encounter. Light attacks are great quick strikes for...
That's valid. I mean, there's some stuff that just like gets put on the back. Like Gears 5 retrospective came out on the 5th anniversary of the game. Not exactly, I think it was like a few days early or whatever, the same week. But it's like, that wasn't planned. I started working on that video of April of last year. No video is worse than a bad video. I mean, it's valid. It's all right so far. But like that one, I started working on in April. I had most of the script done in April. And then I just like fell behind on doing other stuff. So I was like, fuck it. And I went back and I started working on it again in August. And I was like, oh yeah, Gears 5 is coming up. I'm going to move this around in my timeline of videos so that I can have it come out when Gears 5's like 5-year anniversary was. Sometimes it just works like that. And it's like a video that I didn't have the same pipeline of how I worked on videos in August as I did in April when I started it, but you know, it's just how things go. Took me a week to edit this. Damn. You put a lot more editing into your videos than mine. It took me about 6 hours to edit the video I had that came out today, the one about Warframe and Guardians. Although that video is only like 13 minutes long. It's not an hour and 4 minutes. But different styles, different editing pipelines. That's how it goes.
Hitting groups of enemies, while heavy attacks allow you to dish out slower, more powerful swings, and are great for single target damage. Enemies telegraph their attacks, and you can use the right thumbstick to dodge roll away or to dash around the battlefield. Overall, the combat feels like a flowing dance with big sweeping swings. Almost like a ballet of fire. And after a quick jumping tutorial, we learn that Dante can somehow double jump, and we enter a cutscene where Dante lets his guard down and is stabbed in the back.
He was standing there.
Everlasting damnation for your sins. I will not.
Why is Death a pirate? Is that a hat?
Damn those dear to me. I will redeem myself. Mortal, you are mine.
Now, the first scene in any action combat game is usually the most important. It sets the tone, teaches core mechanics, and establishes player expectations. Typically, the prologue introduces the basics, attacking, blocking, and combo flow, before giving the player a chance to build upon their skills. Then, right as the player is starting to really feel comfortable with those mechanics, the game throws a challenge at you, usually a boss fight, and it forces you to apply what you've learned, or it teaches you a whole new skill that adds on top of those. And unfortunately, Dante's Inferno just doesn't do this. Instead of a proper prologue and paced tutorial, players only get an opportunity to learn the basic attacks against escaping hostages. Then, without any meaningful improvement in player skill, Dante's thrown right into the boss fight against Death. Because of this, the game is just forced to introduce core mechanics mid-fight through these tutorial pop-ups that completely break any immersion, and there's just no pacing here at a time when the game should be focusing on the spectacle and the storytelling of this momentous fight against Death. Fortunately, the general premise of Dante being able to kill Death to take his scythe for himself is so fucking badass that it carries the weaker aspects.
Wait, hold on. Never mind. That is bad design. I was going to say, it's not. It didn't feel like bad design because I was assuming the point of it throwing you into that boss fight was for you to, like it was setting you up to lose the boss fight. So Death could kill you and send you to the hells. But he kills Death. The first thing he does is kill Death. That is fucking amazing.
Of this game design. After using some very familiar feeling QuickTime events to defeat Death and claim his scythe, Dante returns to his home in Florence only to discover his estate ransacked by bandits and his family murdered. Searching for his beloved wife Beatrice, Dante finds her cold body outside.
Dude.
As he grieves, her soul leaves her body and she's taken to the underworld by the shadow of Lucifer.
Beatrice!
I still can't tell if it's his shirt or his
Then
skin
the forces
yet.
of hell arise from the ground and attack Dante, and we get more tutorial.
My biggest thing is like that sword. It's got like an engraved hilt and everything like that. In 1109, whatever year it is, you know how expensive it would be to make that sword? You're telling me you're stabbing some random peasant and you're just like leaving your fucking expensive ass sword on the ground? Come on, dude. Like, do these people not want for money? It is a skin? Okay. I assume it's similar to like God of War where it's like a punishment type thing, but It kept fucking with me. I've never noticed it if it's supposed to be skin. Like, I don't know, is it his skin on the cover art? Because that's the main one I've seen. I always assumed it was just the white Crusader clothes. But he put her in his book anyway. I mean, yeah, that's old school love. Never talk, but immortalize them in a poem.
Pop-ups. First, we learn we can use the right trigger to grab enemies with the scythe. Then we learn that we can launch enemies into the air by holding Y. Unfortunately, the player isn't really taught a reason to use these skills at this time, only that you can use them. During this,
yeah, seeing it, I know it is similar. It looks more similar to God of War in playstyle, but just the combos with the scythe do kind of feel Darksiders. Although I think Darksiders 2 was 2012, 2011, so this did precede it. Not by much, but...
Counter, there are no enemies that require you to launch them into the air in order to hit them, and there's no reason to grab enemies aside from being told to do so. When done correctly, a player should immediately use a newly learned skill to create a positive feedback loop and reinforce their connection for how the skill can be used to solve problems. For a more modern example of this, take a look over at Insomniac's Spider-Man. The player is taught to pull enemies up into the air and encouraged to air juggle enemies because it makes it harder for enemies on the ground to hit them. After surviving the battles, we're taught to open the upgrade screen. By defeating enemies and opening chests, we can find souls that can be spent to unlock new combos, abilities, health and mana upgrades, and new magic abilities. The upgrade
do they do? I'm curious to see if they have like a change for holy and unholy skills, like in Mass Effect, if you're more Paragon or Renegade, how it like affects your scars and shit like that. That'd be interesting. I can't understand it at all. Yeah, because it's like a poem from forever ago. No! What the fuck? It's right there! What? It's like, even if it's just that like his eyes change color or something, like that feels like such an easy thing to implement, to be like, are you more holy or helly? Unholy. Helly. What the fuck is helly? But like, your bingo card. Yeah. Oh, we should make an ice bingo card. That would be fun. Infamous played with this? Yeah, a lot of games play with this. Normally it's more like narrative elements than like straight up your spell. I can't think of any actually off the top of my head that that have that in there based on the level up system. Maybe technically Baldur's Gate, but that's still narrative. Where it's like if you're more illithid or more what's the bad one called? Cursed one? Dark Blood? What the fuck is the thing called in Baldur's Gate? I'm forgetting. Whatever the ball spawn is. It like encourages you to be evil, and the more evil that you get, the more powers you get and stuff like that. But come on, it's right there. Just make him look more evil the more you use unholy spells.
The screen is broken into 3 panels. In the center, you'll see a preview of what you're getting with the upgrade. I absolutely love when games have this, and it's now become such a standard in most games that I find myself getting annoyed when there are games that don't have it. The left side of the screen contains the unholy skill upgrades, while the right side contains holy upgrades. If you're wondering what these mean, well, that's another point against Dante's Inferno's game design. As we'll discover later, the difference between holy and unholy becomes very important, but these mechanics aren't explained or unlocked yet. So since half of the system isn't available to us yet, we'll just revisit this screen later. After reviewing all the skills on the unholy side of the page, I picked my first upgrade, and I can now chain 2 heavy attacks together in quick succession for a fierce attack that impales enemies. The way forward is now open, and we head up the path to find a statue of Beatrice for saving the game and a green health fountain. To use it, we press the right bumper and smash the B button until it's destroyed. And I could swear I've seen this before. Kicking open the door, we find the soul
Even the
of
little
Beatrice
icons for the
writhing in
buttons
pain on the
look
altar.
the same.
She asks why Dante broke his promise to her, to which Dante says,
I don't understand.
It's hard to say
Then she
Dante's Inferno and make it possessive. Dante's Inferno? Isn't that just how you say it? I feel like it shouldn't be that hard. If it ends in an S, that's where you have trouble, because you have to put the apostrophe after the S, not and you have to double S it versus putting it before the S. Like Marcus, it's Marcus's rock. Like a point in Dante's. Oh, to double possessive. Dante's Inferno's favorite. Yeah, it is. What defines as holy isn't really defined, because yet Eshkov does the absence of evil necessarily translate to presence of holiness? Double possessive stuff? It is. What is holy? I think holy just means like related to God. It's not like like holy isn't absence of unholy. It's just like what do you call it? It's like specifically in favor of God, the Christian God specifically, but not the absence of being unholy. You know, you could be agnostic and still be, I guess it's unholy. Yeah, you could be agnostic and it's still technically unholy or not holy. Versus like to be holy, you have to be like specifically holy. It's not just not being unholy that gets you there. If that makes sense. It didn't even make sense to me, and I was saying it.
Away, leaving behind a glowing cross. Dante places his cross on the mark, and the camera zooms in on the tapestry on Dante's chest. Dante's Inferno uses 3 different cutscene styles to depict the story. There are the traditional pre-rendered cutscenes, there are in-engine cutscenes like the ones we just transitioned from, and there are these stylized 2D animated cutscenes. As we'll come to learn, the tapestry sewn into a cross on Dante's chest contains panels representing his many sins. This is actually a really great depiction of the breastplate of righteousness, the spiritual armor granted to Christians through Christ, meant to shield against spiritual attacks and symbolize a life of virtue. As Isaiah 59:17 states, he put on righteousness as his breastplate. He puts on the garments of vengeance. But instead of protection, Dante's armor is a manifestation of his sins, a constant reminder of his transgressions rather.
I like that. He's kind of got like the crown of thorns thing going on too, with a literal crown of his helm. It's not really a helmet, it's just like a chainmail cover with a crown around it.
Than a safeguard against them. In the opening scene of the game, we see Dante sew the tapestry
Crusaders
onto
were
his
religious,
chest.
but not to this length. I mean, they weren't like sewing their sins into their chest, but they were definitely very, very religious.
But in the anime, as Dante approaches the gates of hell, ghastly hands reach from the underworld to grab Dante and sew it onto him, forcing him to wear his sins on his chest. Returning to the game, in this cutscene, we see Dante vow to forsake all pleasures of the flesh and remain faithful to Beatrice until he returns from the crusade. The bishop proclaims that all of the crusaders are absolved of all of their sins for embarking on this holy crusade, and we also see Beatrice's brother Francesco is sent with Dante on the crusade. Then it cuts back to Dante as the church falls away and hell opens up before him. And I gotta say, the camera work and the visuals are goddamn impressive. We learned that hitting the B button uses Beatrice's holy cross to fire holy blast at enemies, and it's a nice touch that the projectiles are crosses. As the church collapses,
I love editing to hide boobs. Dude, there's so many movies. So many. The fact that the attack is crosses. I love that. Like, that's some Warhammer shit. You know, where it's just like, there's no reason for this to be designed this way. In fact, it is like more inefficient for it to, I guess it's magic. There's no such thing as efficiency with magic. But like, it's inefficient for it to be designed this way, but we're doing it anyways because we're fanatics.
more enemies come in from the underground. Now, before we push on any further, I need to point out that it's been nearly 5 minutes of in-game time without any combat since we purchased that first upgrade during the tutorial. It's been 5 minutes between making that decision for the skill upgrade and an opportunity to actually use it. The window for instilling any positive feedback closed ages ago. And I'd bet that most people playing this forgot to use the upgrade that they purchased during this combat encounter. During this encounter, we learned that Dante can either punish or absolve enemies after grabbing them. We'll come back to this mechanic in a bit. After clearing the enemies, we climb down this grapple point with a glowing circle, which I know I've seen somewhere, and I swear it's on the tip of my tongue. As we battle through, we fill our meter, and we press left and right bumpers together to activate the Rage of Sparta. I mean,
they're not,
Redemption.
They're not that far away from Greece, you know?
With Redemption activated, Dante is faster, takes less damage, and deals more damage with attacks. Arriving in the first circle, Limbo, we meet the shade of the Greek
I will
poet-
say, even though it may be like a God of War clone, this looks like a much, from watching the gameplay, this looks like a much better God of War clone than like the Conan Barbarian game was.
But Virgil.
Have pity on me, whatever you are.
A lady called. I prayed for her to command me.
Beatrice.
As in the original work, Virgil serves as Dante's guide through hell. In this depiction, Virgil was called by Beatrice to watch over Dante, with Beatrice promising to praise Virgil
Agreed.
before God should she reach heaven. Virgil, of course, was born before the birth of Christ, meaning he's a pagan who is trapped in limbo. Then we're granted our first magic. Once slotted into one of the 4 spots corresponding to a face button on the controller, we can press.
I mean, it's like The Force Unleashed. The Force Unleashed is roughly a God of War clone, but that game's fucking banging.
Left bumper and the face button together to use the magic attack. Mana is used as the resource for our magic attacks, represented by this purple line under our health bar. Purple orbs can drop from enemies or from purple fountains to restore it. It's a very gamey moment here where
Missed opportunity to call it faith and not mana.
there's no explanation for this newfound magic ability. Dante can just cast magic now because the video game demands it, and definitely not because other more popular titles
No,
in this
he-
genre also have
Kratos should
magic.
not fight.
Then a
Jesus.
massive monster creature bursts through the wall. After a long time of just slicing at its ankles, a prompt for the right trigger pops up and we enter into quick time event mode.
I love that monster design. That's very cool.
Slaying the rider grants us the ability to control the beast, and using the beast we can take out waves of enemies before using it to push open the door.
Okay, I'm into this. This is bad. I like that the scythe is like made of a spine, but because it's made of bone, it's allowed to be flexible.
Then we climb along the walls made from the souls of the damned.
Oh, maybe
Along the
David
path,
Jaff,
we'll
yeah.
find Virgil waiting for Dante. He'll deliver.
But David Jaff kind of sucks. I don't really think his opinion's all that important to me. But like, given that the scythe is like the blade looks like metal though, which is weird. But like the fact that it's a spine and it allows it to like morph and do like cool stuff with it and have it like curve and bend and stuff, that's really good design. That's like comparing it, like if I compared it to Darksiders is the same thing where the scythe blade rotates so you can have different things with it. But in Darksiders, the handle is stiff. And what he does is he's got tooth scythes. So you can combine them into a double-sided scythe like Darth Maul. Sprinkle in a lot of abridged cutscenes. The atmosphere is so good. That's fair. The art is amazing. I do like a lot of the designs and the armor designs and the creature designs and stuff like that in this. But yeah, the scythe thing is going to constantly remind me of Darksiders. Technically, it is Death's scythe. It's just this version of Death he fucking murdered straight up versus like Darksiders. You are the horseman himself.
lines from the original Inferno, and he'll converse with Dante about where he is in the 9 circles. He's ours.
You know, talking about presentation, this part isn't so great because you just got this big fuck-ass scythe blocking the character who's talking. It's the only weapon in the game. Okay. That's where it's different, because like in Darksiders, you've got like the scythe, you've got heavy weapons and like other light weapons you can pick up, because it's based around like a 2-weapon combo system where you're swapping between your scythes and your secondary weapon, whether it's a big weapon or a fast weapon, and then you've got like a revolver. You kind of play as like Death if he was a cowboy. Everyone wouldn't shut up about the nudity in this game. Oh, well, yeah. The nudity is part of the presentation. Because you're standing in the way. Should have grabbed a different clip. Oh, so it's Ice's fault that the presentation looks bad. Oh, okay.
And Dante's explanation for how and why souls are being tormented throughout hell. Moving on, Flaming Soul falls with a nice Wilhelm scream.
I know it's like overplayed. I will never not appreciate a good Wilhelm scream. I think there was one in Jedi Survivor, if I'm remembering right. I know some game recently that came out in the last like 2 years or whatever. Like, I guess it can get annoying if you're looking at those movies from like 1995 to like 2005, where like every single movie, like action movie, had one. Sure, but like when I hear it, like now especially, it always gets me every time.
On our path to board Karen, we find an elevator room with a crankshaft and a battle against a guardian demon. These guys have a pretty large health pool, and some of their attacks make their sword glow red. Thankfully, every developer and player agrees that this means that the attack is unblockable, so you better dodge out of the way. Once it's down to a low health, the right trigger flashes above its head, which grabs the enemy, and we get a flashy QuickTime event as we absolve it with a blast from our cross. Killing it spawns another one, this time with 2 minions flanking it. And this time we choose to punish it, and Dante's scythe transforms into a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Disk as he uppercuts the demon into the air and rips it in half.
I love that.
All souls that die from every nation collect
Okay,
here
so yeah, it was Isis
as
Fall.
one. Karen's rough crossing awaits those who did not fear the Lord.
Dude, I love Jedi Survivor. It kind of ran like shit on Xbox, but like, I love that game. It was great. It was a solid game. Mainly because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and like the Rogue Jedi thing I really like. But there's some like moments in that game that I just love. Runs like shit on my 3070. Yeah, I heard it was really badly optimized. Because it ran like shit on my Xbox. And normally games that are like badly optimized on PC won't struggle too much with like consoles, but I don't think I got more than 30 frames on Xbox.
After smashing some boxes, because even in hell I have to satisfy my inner loot goblin, we find the cowering soul of Pontius Pilate.
Hey! Is that how you say is it Pontius? There's actually a story I've been working on for a long time, and I named one of the characters after this guy. There's a lot of not so subtle theologic allegories in said story. It's in the Discord if anyone's interested. It's the Aviator. I published the first chapter in the Discord because I was curious to see if anyone had reactions to it specifically, but that caught me off guard. But that has nothing to do with the review of this video. I was just... that one caught me.
And we can choose to either punish or absolve the soul. So this is one of the core mechanics in Dante's Inferno. Along our journey, Dante will stumble across various figures throughout history that are damned to suffer for all eternity. There are 27 of these so-called damned, 3 for each circle.
I mean, I know like a lot of Roman names, like it's Julius Caesar instead of Caesar, how we all know it. I think I've never heard it said, so in my head I was always saying Pontius rather than like Pontius, but I guess Pontius makes more sense looking at it from like the Roman way, because he's the emperor who commanded, I think, or like, you know, he's the one who got Jesus killed. One thing you lose from this game is the amount of time Dante constantly faints his way out of hell. Faints his way out hell? What? Out of hell? Faints his way... How does he faint his way out of hell? Is that a thing in the poem? I'm not super familiar with the poem, but... Does he just like fall asleep and he wakes up not? Yeah, I'm also very confused by the statement.
Of hell. Each has about 2 sentences to explain their sins and how they face their torment.
Also, his cowardice contributed to the suffering of one for the sins of many. I like how it says the suffering of one, but it's not like, yeah, this is the guy that got Jesus put on the cross.
Obviously, Pontius Pilate is condemned for his cowardly act of ordering the crucifixion of Christ at the behest of others. And in the circle of violence, next to the river of blood, we'll find the soul of Attila, the scourge of earth. It's pretty clear that this is meant to be Attila the Hun, and it's a direct interpretation from Alighieri's poem where he says, I saw people sunk up to their throats, and the great Attila, who was the scourge on earth. For each of these damn souls, we can choose to either punish or absolve them and send their souls to heaven. If we choose to punish them, Dante pulls out this dual disc and stabs them through the face.
Jesus
If we choose to
Christ.
absolve the soul, a minigame pops up. There's a cross on the screen and orbs fly in toward the center. You have to press the corresponding face button while the orb is over the button icon. Now this
You have to play Christian Guitar Hero to to absolve people's sins. The edit was smooth as fuck. Yeah, I didn't even notice it. I don't know what edit you're talking about. I'm sorry. I was too caught up by the Guitar Hero.
could be a really fun minigame to break up the pace of the game and offer
feel
some
that.
variety,
Oh,
but there
yeah.
are two really big problems. The first being that you're locked into this unskippable minigame for 40
Why is it
seconds,
so slow?
which might not sound like a lot, but it's a lot longer than the 5 seconds it takes Dante to put a hole through their face. And the worst part about this is that there's no music. I'm just gonna let this play out for you for a little bit.
Wait,
and
it's
I
not
haven't
actually
edited
Guitar
the
Hero?
audio here at all.
Why not make it a rhythm game? Why is it a rhythm-based
I honestly
minigame
thought
if
this
you're
was
not...
a bug the first time I played it, but no, dead silence is all you get. You might be wondering why you'd want to waste 40 seconds of your time with this, boring mini game when you could just punish them for 5 seconds and get right back into the action. As you kill enemies with the cross or you absolve them, you'll earn holy XP. You can punish or kill enemies with the scythe to earn unholy XP. Earn enough XP on either path and you'll advance your level in that path, represented in this visual, which very cleverly is in the shape of a crown of thorns. Leveling up grants access to more powerful abilities and combos in that path. These interactions with the damned are a big one-time drop of XP.
So it has an implication of which skill tree you can move towards, but there's no actual mechanical connection to the narrative whether or not you are holy or unholy, is what I'm getting.
And souls to quickly level up either path. You'll want to focus on one path. Unless you want to find all of the secret collectibles, there's just barely enough XP and souls in the playthrough to get all of the upgrades for a single path. And for you achievement hunters out there are 2 achievements tied to this system, one for maxing out the holy path and the other for maxing out the unholy path, meaning multiple playthroughs are required. There are some other ways to boost the amount of holy or unholy XP that you gain, but we'll discuss those in a bit. So I attempted to focus on the holy path during my playthrough, but eventually I just got tired of spending 40 seconds doing some boring ass musicless version of Tap Tap Revenge, and I started punishing the soul of every damn that I could find. I guess you could say that I gave into temptation. Well, I guess they fucking got me there.
Hey, I don't think that was on purpose, but they got you.
So I ended up choosing to punish Pontius Pilate, which rewarded me with 600 unholy XP, enough to level up to unholy level 1. Then we find Lucifer with Beatrice.
You don't deserve such a faithful and pious young lady.
Then we make the cross over to Karen's
It would be cool if they took like the Undertale does it, where it's like the game is infinitely harder if you're going like the holy pacifist type route, to like punish you for like if you want to be the good guy, you have to fucking earn it, versus like being the bad guy is like you just do it, because bad guys don't really have many convictions. That'd be cool if they did something like that, where it's like it's hard to get holy stuff and it's like they're not as powerful as like the unholy stuff. I like to do that a lot in like my games that I design and stuff, like in the TTRPGs and stuff. There's a couple others that I don't have listed, obviously, in the Discord or anything like that. But even in the Warhammer one, like there's certain abilities you get for being tempted or for joining the Chaos Gods. And their abilities are fucking through the roof. They're very purposely like making you super overpowered, because the point is that you're not supposed to fall to chaos and like be a bad guy, but if you do, it makes you fucking super overpowered, versus if you're like the most holy good guy, kind of. Tendency good is not being rewarded. Besides, yeah, you should be doing good without expectation of reward, versus being evil gets you, selfish stuff. If this were Game Dev Tycoon, they pushed up the slider for world design and left gameplay at like 15%. Yeah, they took God of War, and they did a good job at copying God of War, and they did a fucking bang-ass job with the atmosphere and the design and the world and the artistry. Game design, though, or game logic, I kind of left a lot on the floor. If they took like another year to make this game, I think it would have been a fucking banger.
You there, stand aside from those that are dead. Where is Beatrice? She made a very fool.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense why it's like a good clone of it versus being like a bad clone. Having people who actually worked on it. I mean, that's like, you look at like Gears Ultimate Edition and Gears 4 especially, like a lot of the people who came on to work for like Gears of War 4 were already working on Gears from Epic or People Can Fly. So it's like Gears of War 4 feels a lot like Gears of War 3 because they got a pretty good chunk of people who were already attached to the series to come on. And that helps a lot.
Take me to her! My life! My soul for her return! You fool! Those belong to us already.
While climbing along the walls, we find a secret item. These relics give passive buffs. Some give buffs to damages, others to defense.
And hey, you know what? It's the best in the series. I was just thinking about this. It's the best in the series, and it's a 360 game. If you play through and you make a review of Darksiders 2, I'm watching the hell out of that shit. I'm fucking here for it. I will replay it myself to make sure I'm fresh on it, and then I'll be watching it. To be fair to this game, Dante purposely used a lot of Greek characters and gods for story purposes. So they have to play God of War's playbook. I mean, yeah, a lot of many Christian traditions and stories and stuff are modified from the the cultures and religions that predated them and the pagan traditions and stuff that came before them. Because if you're trying to get like a bunch of pagans to like believe in your god, is it easier to be like, hey, here's this new god that's totally real and we want you to believe in him? Or is it like, you know, they want to get people in the door, so it's like they kind of co-opt these things. That's why we have stuff like Christmas and Easter that just so happen to align with like the winter equinox and the spring equinox and stuff like that are like pagan beliefs originally. The reason those kind of things get co-opted into Christianity is because they're trying to make the door wider and like the ability for people to get into it easier, you know, lowering that barrier of entry. Considered Christian fan fiction, which undersells the importance of the work, but it's true. I mean, that's what, yeah, Dante's Inferno is. Ever play Hunted, the Demon's Forge? No. I have no idea what that is. I don't even know if I would recognize it. Hold on. Hunted, Demon's Forge. I don't even know if I recognize that art, that cover art. I doubt it. I definitely didn't play this. Maybe I recognize it, but I don't. Not at all. But yeah, you're gonna find lots of parallels between these stories and the stories of old, Greek myth and stuff. Like I said, like our idea of hell as this place of fire and brimstone wasn't even really a thing until Dante's Inferno to begin with. You record next week for it? Oh, okay. That'll be interesting to see.
Like this one, give buffs to holy or unholy XP gains. The player can slot in 2 relics, with an additional relic slot unlocked later on in the upgrade tree. Each relic has requirements to be able to slot it in, and each can level up to improve the buff that it gives. Moving on, we climb along the walls of Karen, and I must point out that instead of nets like most games, we're actually climbing on the tortured and screaming souls of the dead. Pretty nice touch. Inside, we get our first sliding block puzzle, and after completing it and jumping up, we get another of the animated cutscenes.
Dude, I love them, and they make like the smallest amount of sense in a series like Star Wars or God of War or Darksiders or Dante's Inferno. Sure. And then it's like you play Last of Us and you're doing sliding block puzzles in The Last of Us and you're like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what? It's a chain link fence. Let's climb the fence. You said the first and is the only one.
Your Immaculate Father hereby absolves you of all your sin.
Is it true we can absolve our sins without confession? Would a bishop like?
Promise me, you will protect Francesco. You will protect Francesco. Promise me. Promise me.
I will protect your brother like he is my own.
On the deck of Karen, we fight against another of the huge beasts, which we again commandeer to use to kill off waves of enemies.
Prepare to be judged to the circles of hell.
Oh, Khan is a fucking dude. That's what the base was? See, now that's some God of War shit.
As the pillars fall, we climb to the top, then run along the surface as it collapses before using the scythe as a grappling hook to reach safety. We catch up with Virgil, who explains that
I'm gonna play this. If I find the time, dude, I'm gonna play this game. This is so fucking badass.
we're in Limbo.
Beyond Limbo is the fallen King Minos, judge of the damned. But for those who remain in Limbo, the rest shall be sentenced to the circles below.
So here's where we're introduced to a stacking mechanic. We are now taught that we can use the grab ability to grab an exploding enemy and throw them into the glowing cracked walls to destroy them. This tutorial should have happened in the first section of the game. It would have given a reason to introduce the grab mechanic and show how it can be used to solve puzzles and how they can be used as a weapon against the enemy. Once inside, we find Karen's head and we shove it off into the abyss, which awards us with some souls and unlocks an achievement. Heading down the corridor, we find a goat statue containing a relic and a fountain containing a Beatrice stone. So there are 2 collectible types to be found throughout the 9 circles. There are 30 of these silver Judas coins. Collect them in sets of 5 and you'll be rewarded with a chunk of souls. I've already collected 2 of them up to this point. The other collectible are these Beatrice stones. Find 3 of them throughout Hell to unlock the ability to auto-absolve the souls of the damned. Yeah, you heard that right. If you find enough of these Beatrice stones, you can completely skip the 40-second minigame. This is just so fucking sad. This means that they knew the player would be so fucking bored of the Absolve minigame that they put in a mechanic to reward you with the ability to skip it. If you have to put a reward in your game that skips a central mechanic, you've designed a bad fucking mechanic. As we move through Limbo, we enter...
But again, they're testing your temptation.
...this room, and these demon babies will get to live rent-free in your nightmares from now on.
I saw a fire that overcame a half-world of darkness.
The unblessed.
Why is its head so big?
Baptism they did not have. The one gate to the true faith was never shown to these.
This is what... When people tell me they're like pro-life, this is what I imagine they see at night. This is what they think the average liberals get up to.
Newborn souls. Limbo shows no mercy for these babes.
It's giving me like Scorn vibes.
Over in the anime, Dante discovers in Limbo that Beatrice was pregnant with his child when he left for the crusade, but the pregnancy resulted in a stillbirth. Dante finds the soul of his lost son here in Limbo. I find it really interesting that this was in the anime and not in the game, and I have a feeling that it was cut from the game because there are just more eyes on the game than there would be on the anime, and this is kind of a controversial topic. In all of the other circles of hell, Dante has a personal connection to the sins and to the torment that's taking place, but there isn't an instance of this in Limbo in the game. Limbo sort of just serves as a step along the journey. Heading on, we find King Minos judging souls in the distance, and we know that we'll have to get there. Throughout the next few battles, we'll hear his voice ringing out. This is King Minos. He judges the souls of the dead and determines which circle of hell they'll get to reside for all eternity. In the poem, he's not this giant monster, but instead he's a man with a serpent's tail. Upon hearing the sins committed, he would wrap his tail around the soul, and the number of times he wrapped his tail around would indicate which circle they would reside.
Again, fucking fabulous character design. That fucking like castle head thing, like that's a fucking Dark Souls boss right there. Later is the suicide for. Wait, what? Oh.
Who comes into my house of pain?
One who loves Beatrice
Tell me where to find her! I smell only a traitor, a glutton, murderer. Sniff again! How dare you presume to speak with the Judge of the Dead! Your Beatrice will never be returned!
To defeat King Minos, we have to dodge his spiky tail that comes out of the ground.
We want to talk more about the anime, but I cut for time. At that point, just make a separate thing about unless it's not like how the anime is tied into the game, but just make a separate video for the anime. Minos is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. Lucifer by Steve Bloom. See, I recognize Steve Bloom, who fucking couldn't. I don't think I recognize Kevin Richardson, though. Not my name, at least.
All you have to do is keep moving and you won't get hit. Then we have to dodge his slam attacks and jump over his arm when it sweeps across.
Yeah.
Eventually, he'll do a massive slam.
It's like it's like one of those things like in The Boy and the Heron, the most recent Miyazaki film, the fucking like King Penguin is played by Dave Bautista. And I wasn't like picking up on any of the other like famous actors except for maybe Robert Pattinson, who plays like the Heron. But like I wasn't really like picking up on any of the actors that were in it, and then like Dave Bautista showed up, and I was like, "That's fucking Dave Bautista." He's got such a not that he's got like a bad voice, but it's very, very distinct.
Only be dodged by grappling onto the wall. Thankfully, it's pretty hard to miss the obvious right bumper call out on the top of the screen. After we dodge his slam, we can then grab his arm to do a quick time event that leaves his vulnerable belly exposed for our scythe attacks.
Salvation is not within your reach.
I'll say, I get they're overplayed. I kind of fuck with quick time events. Like, compared to like when they're in every single cutscene, it gets a bit much, but like when they're used very purposefully, like I think the newer God of War games do a good job of integrating quick time events into cutscenes, and it's not just like a slow-mo shot every other action. I enjoy them quite a bit. I enjoy something like that more than like just a straight cutscene. I mean, it depends on the game. Like obviously you get a game like Red Dead where it's like Red Dead works better with just traditional cutscenes, but I've never been a hater of quick. I've always like not understood the what do you call it? The like disdain for QuickTime events. Barbados, Slim, Futurama, Jerome. Gontu, Principal Lewis. The only one I recognize there is Jerome from Family Guy. I don't think I've ever watched American Dad. I don't even know what Gontu is.
As we damage him, he'll pick up the pace of his attacks and add in an attack where he breathes. To dodge it, we also need to grapple to the wall. Then he'll place his head down and let us swing at him. While we hit him, he'll retaliate with his forked tongue. This attack is actually quite difficult to dodge at first, and if you fail to dodge it, you'll end up in a quick time event where you have to roll out of the way of his attacks. Even if you successfully avoid them, getting hit by his tongue lash resets the entire phase of the fight,
okay.
Meaning you just need to dodge all of the slams and the breath attack again. Once you succeed, you'll be able to grab his tongue, and Dante pulls the powerful judge toward the bladed wheel. Dante stabs the tongue onto the wheel and spins it to shred Minos through the head.
I also like QuickTime events, and I hate that I sold my copy of Ninja Blade way back. It always comes back for you. It's a FromSoft game, and it costs like $80. Ooh, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, you always feel that like regret. Like I always like. I remember when I sold my Xbox One S, like it was like the first console I ever bought, like myself, because I'm a baby. But like, I was sold that and I was like, man, I'm never going to use it, but like, it's kind of like nice. I think it's like, it's different with that though, versus like, I still have my 360 somewhere. It's still even got like the Gears of War 3 sticker on it. But like, yeah, dude, I'm 22. But like with the Xbox One, I wouldn't feel the same as like selling my 360 as like the Xbox One, because from the generational leap from the One to the 1S is just like the games it can run. Like from an user interface perspective and from like a hardware perspective, or like software, I guess, it's pretty much the same console. It's just that the Series S is like more powerful and can run 60 FPS, which the One couldn't do with every single game, if not any of them, as far as I remember. So like selling that wasn't that bad outside of like sentimental memories I had, but especially for like those older consoles, like the original Xbox or the Xbox One, or not the Xbox 360. Like those ones that like there was such a difference in generational that it's cool to just have that stuff even though you're not using it, versus like the Xbox One and the Xbox Series are effectively the same console, just one's better and one's worse. Enjoy playing 360 games on the 360? Oh yeah. I tend to prefer them on the Xbox because almost all of them, at least on the Series as far as I know, most of them are upscaled. But not all of them. I know, I think Army of Two is one I played where I was like, oof, this still looks rough. Damn.
King Richard wants us to babysit 3,000 prisoners? That is the king's command?
He intends to negotiate the exchange of these prisoners for the return of the true cross.
Negotiate with heretics?
I can comfort you if you let my brother go.
I have a woman in Florence.
Dante, don't.
Let me comfort you.
So the
Did he
plot
cheat on his wife?
begins. Dante isn't the noble and righteous hero he proclaimed to be. And after one incredibly boring Absolve minigame, we make our way into the Circle of
God,
Lust
why do they
and
all
find
start
Cleopatra.
so
So there's a
slow?
lot of boobs in this game, like a lot of boobs. This section of the game is incredibly difficult to present on YouTube. So here's hoping that I pay enough attention in editing to hide all of them. To enter the tower,
Here's
we need
the
to break
boob
down
chapter.
the barrier. There's a puzzle where this pink lightning generates a ball that flies down the path. In the middle of the path is a lever that will reverse the direction the ball travels. Time the pull of the lever to send the lightning back at the windstorm and break it open to pass. But first, drop down this side section, crawl along the walls, and find the hidden silver Judas coin. And before we proceed, we might as well stop to chat with our boy Virgil.
Winds of lust smite these down.
Is that real? Are you fucking with me? Was the woman Dracula? I don't know at this game.
Making our way inside, we find another new enemy type, the Temptress. And boys, you know what they say. Never stick your dick in crazy. Temptresses are actually pretty challenging, mainly because they're able to dodge your attacks. They require you to time your attacks, and they prevent you from simply button mashing.
Why are snakes always like... That's the thing with Slaanesh in Warhammer 2, where they're all like kind of snaky themed, where they're like slithering and stuff. Is there a reason snakes are like so strongly connected to seduction? Is it purely because of like the snake in the garden that like seduces them to like eat the forbidden fruit? Dracula is often linked to the Christian lore. Oh, I mean, I know vampires are in general, and I never got the impression that it was like a Dracula thing, but yeah. But as well, that whole thing of like the lady coming out and she's got the big, monster claw dick. It reminds me of the beginning of Brutal Legend, where like the first demon comes out and Jack Black's like, I knew it, big demon lady. Kind of hot though.
Using the platform to climb the tower, we fight against enemies while Cleopatra climbs the tower with her tits just completely out in the background.
Nice.
Beatrice, don't do this.
Because of you, I must.
I would never do anything to cause this.
Oh, but you did cause this. Let me refresh your memory. Look into your beloved's eyes, Dante.
Guards, release this one. And her brother.
You broke your promise.
You don't know what it was like. Beatrice, don't.
I had no choice.
My faults are mine.
Damn, I think he just got
But she
cut.
doesn't deserve this. I have to set things right.
Give up the little bitch, Dante. Once this dirty business is complete and Lucifer's way home is reopened, her part in this play will seem so small.
I don't understand.
Reaching the top, Cleopatra spits out the soul of her lover, Mark Antony. We'll wail on him, parry his attacks.
Again, fucking glorious character design. I love all the artistic stuff that's going on here. A lot of nudity, yeah.
And dodge his unblockable attacks. Eventually, Cleopatra gives him invulnerability and heals him, requiring us to attack her hand on the platform to put a stop to it. After a little while, we take him down.
It is funny to see every time. Maybe I'm not getting the specific references of who the faces are. Jesus Christ. It's giving me like Far Cry vibes.
Then we battle against some enemies while the platform is being destroyed by falling debris. Then we climb our way into the Circle of Gluttony. And dropping down, we come face to face with Cerberus. This has got to be one of the best depictions of Cerberus that I've ever seen. Rather than the traditional bog standard dog with 3 heads, here we have a disgusting, fleshy, turtle-like behemoth with 3 long necks that end in terrifying...
Okay. What? The demon spawned from her nipples? Yeah, that was probably smart to cut. I was about to compare this whole, like, section of Gluttony to the Riftworm mission in Gears 2. Those inner face mouth things that have extra mouths on them is like peak, like, Warhammer Chaos stuff. Again, once again. Okay. Again, once again, I hit my microphone. Once again, fabulous design. Wonderful design. In this case, maybe too good. Maybe too disgusting. Maybe too rambunctious. Maybe, I know. Everyone point and laugh. Maybe too well-designed of a monster. Maybe a little bit too good as nightmare fuel. These are infinitely worse than the babies. What the fuck are you talking about? These are fucking... Oh, I don't like that. I don't like the... It's mainly the top of the gums. That's the... If they were just mouths, it's the fact that they have, like, human teeth, and that it's, like, the top of the gums. You know? Like, that's what makes them awful.
Misshapen heads. Each has a gigantic, ravenous maw with massive teeth and an even bigger black gum line. And each has 4 eyes. And if that wasn't unsettling
Those
enough,
are eyes?
the eyes are also made of teeth and have elongated necks that reach out to bite you from the eye sockets. Ugh. And the arena itself is an island of flesh set in a pile of gore and eyeballs with a thick black bile moat. This is a thing of nightmares, and I'm pretty sure everyone involved in bringing this abomination to life lost some part of their humanity when they poured their souls into their art. Bravo. The beast attacks are pretty...
This is like the kind of thing, it reminds me of, like, if you've ever heard of North of the Border, he's like a guy who makes models, like, out of clay and stuff. Like, he'll remake a Space Marine out of clay. And it's really good. He's really got a lot of fucking skill. He's really talented. He's good at what he does. And then he'll just make, like, a realistic Minecraft creeper. And it is the most fucking horrendous thing. Or if you want to see, like, really bad, what do you call it? Midwinter Minis. He's a guy who also does, like, Warhammer minis and modeling and stuff like that. If you look, especially, it's like his most recent or second most recent video on his YouTube channel, he's been making, like, a Titanic size, like, for the scale of 40K the board game, a Titanic sized Great Unclean One, which, you know, Nurgle, his whole thing is death and rot and pestilence, and it's just this mound of flesh and tongue and pores and bulbs and exposed intestines and bugs and fingers. It is gross as shit. It's like not as bad when they're like building it and it's just like, you know, expanding foam and cardboard and whatever, and it's like kind of like, yeah, that kind of looks disturbing, but it's not so bad. And then they go through and paint it, and they're using like actual real life rotted flesh as reference for the colors that they are painting the real flesh of the model. And once they get through it, it's like, oh man, that's awful. It's fucking gross.
Standard mechanics. It will sit back and hawk loogies at you. Gross. It will also lunge out at you with one of its mouths. Before it does, break open one of the pustules on the ground to release a stream of fire, setting it alight and allowing you to freely attack it. Once it's taken enough hits, jump into a quick time event to slice off the head.
I don't like the big pus sack on the side.
You'll do this for each of the heads, but the third head doesn't go down so easy. Instead, it grabs Dante. And with the power of Christ, he destroys the beast from the inside and bursts free.
Fucking love that.
Then you have to walk across this melted face and its tongue to reach the Circle of Gluttony. Playing this game at night was not a good life decision. In the Circle of Gluttony are these worms that burst from the ground. You've seen these in tons of other games at this point, and this is a nice hidden tutorial moment when the first one attacks you and grabs you without warning. It teaches you that these enemies can grab you and you'll have to mash the B button quickly to escape. So the team does have the chops to put in a good tutorial design. It's just a shame that they didn't show their abilities from the start.
What these shades could not satisfy in life, in death they shall be denied for eternity.
Oh, it's the guys from Little Nightmares.
Like father, like son. You think you're above reproach.
The bishop assured us that our sins would be absolved.
And you believed him. You actually believed these salesmen of salvation. This isn't their hell. It's yours.
Don't waste your tears, girl, knowing my son is long dead by now. You dare enter my home!
I don't know. It kind of looked like he had that confidence. Damn.
She wasn't my sister. She was my wife.
Oh, so the man who murdered Beatrice was the husband of the woman Dante slept with, meaning all of this was Dante's fault. After a puzzle involving portals and some MC Escher-esque design, which took me far longer to solve than I'd like to admit, we make our way toward the Circle of Greed. There's a brief cutscene where we see the greedy nature of Dante's father.
Take it all.
How will I feed my family?
That's not my
I'm not going to recognize any of them by their face, except for maybe Weird Al.
Friends to entertain me.
For the crime of greed do these souls suffer. Those clerks, a squint of mind, made no measured spending in life. And by contrast, in these popes and cardinals, greed practiced its excess.
That's the whole thing with
We're
Martin
jumping
Luther,
ahead a
isn't
bit because greed is kind of, well, it's fucking boring, okay? There's lots of fights, there's liquid gold rivers, but god damn is it a long level with nothing interesting happening. There is this one part where you have to fight one of the beasts on a platform above liquid gold. And if you don't kill it fast enough, the platform will sink into the gold and you'll meet your end.
I lost my genitalia in an unfortunate schmelting accident.
So you fight off the thing by slashing it in the feet, making it do the hokey pokey and turn itself around, before finally killing the rider with the same old quick time event from before. Then this asshole appears and kicks you off without even giving you a chance to fight back, which I think is supposed to be another hidden tutorial to teach you that these guys can hijack your beast, but come on, let me learn that one organically through gameplay if it happens. I take back any praise I gave them for hidden tutorials.
So, you think you're a better man than your father?
I think
Oh, but those nipples are okay. Okay,
my
you do.
father.
Okay.
We'll find out who's the better man.
So Dante must battle his father to pass the Circle of Greed. Alighiero, whose name is a play on Dante Alighieri, is a gluttonous, greedy, evil man. In the animated epic, it's revealed through a flashback that Alighiero beat Dante and his mother after 3 gold coins went missing from his stack of coins. Here, Dante's father attacks with his large gold cross. He will summon a flying cross to come attack you, which you can parry and send back at him. Then he'll start summoning recurring shockwaves, preventing you from getting in close. As you fight, the arena will shrink in size, making it all the more difficult to avoid his many AoE attacks. When he throws 3 of the flying crosses, you really need to parry all 3 of them to do lots of damage and to stop them from shredding you.
I kind of dig this boss fight.
Go on! Use me as an excuse! Blame me for everything!
You're so full of greed and hate. Is that all you had to offer me?
I'm not responsible for the man
Oh, you got Microsoft.
are.
And I will not be damned like you.
Dante collects the jewel from his cross and we're rewarded with a new magic that can summon the flying crosses. And after another platforming section, we make our way into the Circle of Anger.
See the souls over whom anger has prevailed. In the warm bath of the sun, they were once hateful. Down here in the black sludge of the river Styx, do they wish they had never been born?
Here you have to turn off the fire on the platform using the crank at the bottom. Then climbing up, you push the gear along until it reaches the end and the whole platform rises.
Is anger a sin?
And to put the pressure on,
Isn't
you're
it
on
wrath?
a ticking clock to do this before the fire climbs to reach the cremation platform and burns you alive. You need to do this several times to reach the top of the tower, and all the while the exploding enemies are attacking you and you need to use them to destroy cracked walls that are blocking the crank from moving forward. And strangely, this is the first time we've needed to use the explodey guys to destroy a wall since we were first introduced to the mechanic all the way back in Limbo. I find it strange that it takes so long to reintroduce a mechanic that was shown to us in a tutorial pop-up, but this is definitely one of the
That's
best
what I mean by
sections.
like this game would have really benefited from like an extra year of being able to like extend these levels a little bit, add a few more puzzles that change the pace of gameplay. So it's not just like fight, fight, fight. Oh yeah, we had this mechanic. Throw it in here. Fight, 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 fight. Oh yeah, let's do this. Do it here. Fight, 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 fight.
Of the whole game. It's challenging. It's tense. It's just a good ass level. That is, except for this part where the lever decided it didn't want to count as being fucking lined up. So finally, after restarting the mission for the 3rd fucking time, I reached the top and I pushed the final lever into position.
You die off screen. Okay, that's badass. Again, art direction off the fucking charts.
Now, my son, the city of Dis draws near, housing its condemned citizens within. The eternal fire that blazes there makes the mosques show red in this nether hell.
While crossing over to the city of Dis, Dante unknowingly rides the crown of Phlegyas. Obviously, Phlegyas is pissed about this, and he shakes Dante off, and Dante fights enemies while Phlegyas tries to smash it. Phlegyas actually derives from Greek mythology, where he was a Thesean king and the demigod son of Ares. The god Apollo fell in love with Phlegyas' daughter Coronis, eventually impregnating her. But while Apollo was away on his duties, Coronis had an affair, and the heartbroken Apollo ordered her to be killed. After her murder, Phlegyas burned down the temple of Apollo. This blasphemous act against the gods would not go unpunished, as Apollo would kill Phlegyas and throw his soul into Tartarus to be condemned for all eternity. In the Divine Comedy, Dante Alighieri casts Phlegyas as a ferryman that ferries Dante and Virgil across the river Styx to the city of Dis.
Beatrice!
When you had your way with that girl, you gave me to Lucifer!
She wagered her soul that you would be faithful. Now, let my power flow through your soul. Give in to our union. And together, we will regain
literally fruit.
Paradise!
Can you give her 3 beans? Is it the beanstalk?
The faithful has lost her faith. The incorruptible has become corrupted. The true innocent has given way to the sins of man, like all the rest before.
Okay. Cool. Fun.
Then Dante rides Phlegyas across the chasm to the city of Dis, and we get presented with a truly epic scene.
Like that fiery bridge. Why do you need torches on the bridge that saddles a crevice full of magma? Obviously, it's not practical to begin with, but
toward the city, secure in our holy cause.
This is giving me Lord of the Rings vibes, like Minas Tirith.
And on every hand I saw a great plain of woe and cruel torment. Bitter tombs were scattered with flame, made to glow all over, hotter than iron need be for any craft. And such dire laments issued forth as come only from those who are truly wretched, suffering, and forever lost.
While controlling Phlegyas, Dante heads into the city of Dis, but the floor collapses and Phlegyas falls into the abyss. Then Dante climbs out, and there's kind of this odd moment where the game decides to give us a tutorial about how to climb up onto a ledge to dismount. And this isn't the first time that we've done this, so I don't really know why there's a tutorial. More than a few times along our journey, we've been platforming along ropes and handholds, so we know how to jump already. I mean, we're 5 hours into the game, and we're still being presented with basic information.
It's only 5 hours into the game.
Here you will find the heretics and followers of every cult and pagan sect, all buried together, burning in eternal fire.
There's this really cool moment here of game design where the mechanics are stacked to test the player's knowledge. First, you enter this room with this guardian, and after killing it, you have to pull the lever to turn off the flames to be able to proceed through the hallway. Then down the hall, and you turn the corner, and this happens. Now, I know it's not the most subtle, but this is an instance where the music and the camera create a sense of tension and let the player work out that they need to run before the lever gets pulled. But for every good moment of good game design, there's another moment of bad game design. In this room, there's a puzzle where the goal is to destroy the statue by making a beam of light strike it. To solve the puzzle, you have to pull this lever, then place a block under the forge to prevent it from tipping back. Once you do that, there's a pop-up that tells you the trial is complete and you have to go back the way you came. And I really just don't understand why they had to break the fourth wall here. It's a perfect example of bad level design. If you're a good level designer, the player would know exactly what they need to do, where they need to go, and when they've completed their task. Heresy is home to new enemy types. These are the pagans. They sling fireballs from their staff and they attack from a distance. Then there are the priests, which are a good change of pace because they're immune to Dante's holy attacks, meaning I couldn't just rely on my usually effective combo of holy attacks for AoE stunning and launching enemies and air juggling them. And so begins the descent into violence.
My son, within this remaining cavern, there are 3 more circles, one below another, each full
I mean, to be
of
fair,
accursed
both are accurate. It just depends
As
which one you're
Virgil
talking about, the
explains,
cold one or the
violence
hot
is
one.
separated into 3 circles. In the first round of violence, we'll find the Phlegathon, the boiling river of blood, where those who committed crimes against their neighbor are sentenced to be burned for all eternity. And in the second round, we'll find the Wood of Suicide, those who committed violence against themselves. And unfortunately, we find the soul of Dante's mother.
Why do you break me? Have you no pity?
No.
When the soul quits a body from which it has uprooted itself, Minos judges it to the 7th circle. There, it sprouts, shoots up.
Dante goes to Mars? I want to play that game.
Like a sapling, no body, only the pain. For it is unjust that any soul possess that of which it has robbed itself.
But you don't belong here, Mother. You died of the fever. Her heart just gave out from the fever.
I despised your father's cruelty. But I was too weak to defy him. You learned his ways.
Beatrice was all I had. Why did I betray her?
It is too late for us, son. There is still time for her.
What? Hold on. Isn't Jesus' father just him? What? What do you mean Jesus' father? He came from a virgin birth. His father is himself. It's not like Joseph shows up.
Absolve me. My soul belongs to you. You must save Beatrice. She is innocent.
In violence, we find that Dante commanded his troops to murder the prisoners against the wishes of Beatrice's brother Francesco. Then there's one of the most annoying battles in the whole game. You have to push this contraption up the hill while fending off the onslaught of enemies. Anytime you get hit, Dante will let go and
one must imagine Sisyphus trapped in hell.
the device will slide back down the hill. After about 3 attempts, I just got lucky and the enemies kept missing their attacks at me. Then we reach the River of Blood and Dante finds the soul of Francesco. Francesco slowly moves around the battlefield and he swings his sword or he throws it at you. He'll summon shielded enemies to slow you down, but just circle around and wail on him until he dies. Dante ends up taking the standard from Francesco's back and the player is rewarded with it as a usable relic. Entering the Circle of Fraud, Dante finds Beatrice being all badass and demonic, and we encounter the latest threat. These big fiery boys force you to use holy attacks to get rid of their fire armor and make them corporeal to be attacked by your scythe. A nice welcome change and a great addition to the formula in Combat Loop, but unfortunately, this next area is the worst part of the entire game. Here is the exact reason why people said that it ran out of steam and it was padded for length, and why it started to earn 6s and 7s.
Aren't we like 5-6 hours into this game? How do you pad length in a game that short?
The next few combat encounters are challenge arenas where you have to kill all of the enemies within a certain amount of time. There are modifiers to make it a real challenge. You'll get infinite use of magic to make it a breeze, or you'll have to kill a number of enemies while air juggling them, or score a 100 hit combo. There are 10 of these rooms, and the whole section is just a sloppy cop-out and kills all pacing or momentum on the journey to find Lucifer.
Okay, but time trial, that does feel like padding.
There are 3 of these rooms that are far worse than the others. The first being a minigame to protect the innocent from the exploding demons. You just sit back and you spam the B button for holy attacks for about 3 minutes until it ends. One of the challenges is by far the worst. It's the one where you have no access to magic while you fight off all the enemies. And it's not bad just because it's challenging or because you have to fight enemies without magic. No, it's bad because the challenge ends abruptly when one of the beasts comes crashing through the wall and a pop-up on screen tells you challenge canceled, escape. This little fucking pop-up is the death of any immersion, and it makes you wonder why you were ever doing a challenge to begin with if it can just be canceled like this. What a fucking break of the fourth wall. But the second to last challenge is the worst one because it's just pure torture. You're gonna have to kill every single enemy with a single combo. It's gonna take you a couple of tries to beat this one, so you better get used to seeing that fucking game over screen over and over again. Eventually, you get through.
That's also like, if you need them to be killed by... Is it impossible to code it in a way that, like, their health doesn't go down unless it's coming through a singular combo? Versus, like, they can die anyways, but then you have to restart from the beginning. I feel like making them immortal, except for case A, would be, like, better. The Thor movie game. Just bought the Iron Man 3. Dude, I remember playing that game. I remember having a really hard time. I mean, I was like 6 years old, but I remember having a really hard time with the tanks in that game because there's like a mash B like quick time event to like rip the tops of the tanks off, and I remember never being able to pull it off.
Through that nightmare of level design to find Beatrice, where she calls out Dante for allowing Francesco to take the blame and be hanged for the crimes that Dante committed against the prisoners. Dante, having finally been forced to confront the consequences of his sins, admits that he belongs in hell, and upon seeing that he still has her cross, Beatrice's soul is saved and she's taken to paradise by the angel Gabriel.
Deadpool, now there's a good game. I love the use of Deadpool's like fourth wall breaking in the game. Green Lantern, oh god. Whoa.
Beatrice. You've done well, Dante. And though you may not understand it now, you have saved much more than this innocent soul.
I don't understand.
Your redemption is near. Trust me, you will see her again.
And oh man, I really hope that this foreshadowing pays off in the sequel. Now we're in the final circle of treachery and almost to the end of our journey. We fight in the frozen circle against demons as giants breathe cold breath on us that tries to push us off the edge. If you stay in the breath for too long, you can be...
Too many new games to play, not enough time, you're spending 2 hours watching someone. I mean, hey, I've got too many games to play. I set aside like 4 or 5 hours a week to sit here and stream, and I don't even play the games that I want to play while I'm here on stream. In the anime, her cross is passed down through generations and contains a thorn from the crown of thorns. See, now that's metal.
Frozen and knocked right off. Then we make our way across a frozen bridge that collapses as you cross it, which feels sort of out of place. And finally, we break the chains of Judeca and descend to meet Lucifer himself. Straight into the action, no big speeches. Phase 1 has Giant Lucy slamming his fists down, creating shockwaves that you have to jump over. He also throws out gusts of wind to knock you away. And
again, design, fantastic. I do love the inversion of it's like the biggest bad in hell, but it's all cold. There's fucking wall boobs in that game. Oh, Duke Nukem. Of course, it's Duke Nukem. It's like bad Johnny Bravo.
And spawns in tornadoes to circle the battlefield. Eventually, he'll do a slam that brings shards from the ground and exposes himself to be grabbed, with Dante flying through the air to hit him a few times before falling to the ground to throw holy attacks at Lucy's exposed belly. And once he's knocked low enough, he'll begin his big speech, which sounds an awful lot like Palpatine. And a big shout out to my friend on Xbox Live for signing in with perfect comedic timing.
You are the best.
Is it Palpatine?
Many have tried and many have failed me. Brave Ulysses, the great Alexander,
Attila, Lancelot.
Only you possess the soul black enough to free me.
It's the Lucifer. Does he have a giant
soul to free Beatrice?
Am I seeing that right?
Not you. Did you really think this was all about the girl? She was the bait.
Her soul is free now. Only you and I remain.
Come for me, holy warrior. Come, fulfill your destiny.
It is.
The first thing you're going to notice about this fight against Lucy is his big floppy cock and balls.
Okay, I was
And
going
you
to
can
say.
thank me because now you'll be unable to focus on anything else through the remainder of
I didn't even need you to point it out. I was already hard focused on it, man. That's like.
In this final 1v1, Lucy swings his flaming blade, and after a few hits, he'll be sent reeling and rewards you with health and mana orbs. Which
Dude,
to me
fucking
feels a little bit like a
massive.
cop-out. They really should just let you fight this one out without any healing. Make it a little bit of a challenge, because it is Lucifer himself after all. He'll do this really cool attack where he throws fireballs at you, and you have to dodge roll to avoid them. And he also unleashes these massive shockwaves. If you try to hit him with holy attacks, he'll block them and flashbang the whole screen. Visually, this fight is impressive, and the music kicks so much fucking ass. Eventually, Lucy will take to the sky with diamonds, and we
Dude,
run around.
this is a game they would call woke today. They'd be, it's woke propaganda. They made demons gay.
On the battlefield, dodging his attacks to occasionally grapple up to him. Then he flies to the center and raises the platforms around the pentagram. Dante puts on his best Spider-Man impression to reach him. Then we get an epic QuickTime event to finally put Lucifer back in his place.
It just flops around. Nice.
But before Lucy perishes, he shows Dante one very important, slightly minor detail.
Oh, it was the guy he cucked?
It can't be. You're dead, Dante. I will reclaim my rightful place in paradise. My path will be paved with the sins of man, and yours, Dante, shall be the bedrock of my return. And all that is good shall be gone from the universe forever!
Dante ends up going full anime, proclaiming that he's absorbed the souls of many along his path and that they now have the power to absolve him and take down Lucifer. Lucifer does that normal Sith thing and says that Dante should join him, and together they can wield that power to conquer the galaxy, or heaven and earth, I guess.
We can use it together. You and I, friend. Just think what we could achieve.
Me and my giant flopping cock. I could give one to you, Dante.
I would rather not.
He even says that they can use the power to bring Beatrice back from the dead. Then the souls imprison Lucifer back into Lake Cocytus.
So how come he doesn't have a big floppy monster cock in the pre-rendered cutscene? What the fuck, guys? Is this what woke wants? Censor my giant demon dick? Shit. And he's getting turned into Kratos.
And the camera shifts to show Dante's soul in purgatory.
We're gonna see Dante's cock. I think he's playing art.
And I did not.
Why does he have to be naked? Oh, I thought it was
Dante
his chest
rips
hair.
the tapestry from his chest, but it turns into a snake and we hear Lucifer's laugh one last time before it says, "To be continued." And that is how Dante's Inferno ended. Not with a bang, but with a cliffhanger and a good old-fashioned "to be continued," which never happened. So to answer the main question, Dante's Inferno was actually pretty good. The main highlights are the incredibly detailed depictions of the circles of hell and the torments that are being faced by the souls condemned there. It's hard not to get excited to see what lies around the next bend as you journey through the circles of hell. The plot itself has some problems, but overall it's effective enough, and Dante's written as a pretty complex character. I especially like that we learn about the sins of his family and how he falls not far from the tree, but in his own way. It also helps that Dante is voiced by Graham McTavish of all people, who plays Dante with a cinematic flair needed for the character and for the setting. Where the story doesn't really work for me is how they changed some things from the Divine Comedy. Beatrice in particular was changed drastically and not for the better. In the original, Dante wasn't her husband, and Beatrice actually serves as the soul that saves Dante, not the other way around. So to turn her into this just exposed titty damsel in distress feels very video game. But also, this is the kind of change that would just never fly under modern gaming and internet culture. So I'm kind of glad that they did it when they still could. And the gameplay is very much a God of War clone, a fact that is even further bolstered when you realize that several of the developers had previously worked on God of War. And it doesn't have the depth of God of War, but hell, I really fucking enjoyed Dante's Inferno when I first played it. And I also was
I mean, there's nothing wrong with something being a clone inherently. Like, a lot of really popular, like some of the most popular games in the world are like clones of another game, you know? Like, Spec Ops The Line I always think of as like a soft Gears of War clone. But like, Spec Ops The Line, narrative-wise, does a much better job than any of the Gears games, so...
excited for the sequel. It was one of the first sequels that I can remember being disappointed to hear was canceled. But what did you think? Is Dante's Inferno actually good? Should EA revive the series through a remake, a remaster, or even a reboot? Let me know in the comments below. Big thanks again to all my channel members who support me and my channel. You can support me for free by liking this video or subscribing. If you'd like to become a channel member and have your name listed here on screen, you can do so for only $1 a month. A link is in the pinned comment below.
Space Marine 1 is often to be argued to be a Gears clone. I mean, it is. Like, I find it funny because they're both GOW clones, but Space Marine 1 is much more of a Gears clone where it's got like the 4-weapon radial system and like the kind of God of War 1 and Gears of War 1 at the same time, versus like Space Marine 2 is much more like modern God of War with like the parry and attack and going from ranged and melee attacks very quickly, which I find funny that it kind of like, you see how it's inspired by like these older third-person games, and then the new one is inspired by these newer third-person games, which I always found funny. Sped up through the endings, pretty over it by the end. Yeah, it's like this sometimes. More snake. Nothing popped up. The end card's not working. There it is. The more snake thing went away. You need to play Space Marine 2? Listen, buddy. You pick up Space Marine 2? I'm right there. I'll take any excuse to play that game. Let me know. I'm fucking hopping in. I mean, we played the whole game. At least the story, like right here on stream. Well, yeah. I think it was good, you know, from hearing it. Snake thing at the end. Yeah. It just happens. I'm going to drop it again in chat for everybody. Go check it out. I enjoyed this quite a lot. Yeah, that surprised me. I was kind of thinking it was going to be the Prey video. I have not seen that. We're not going to be watching it tonight. We've already been live for close to 3 hours, and I'm running out of steam. 12 minutes. We'll be here for another hour. Prey? Okay. We could do both of these tomorrow. I'll be streaming tomorrow night as well. We're going to come back. We're going to do more Ice, as well as whatever else I happen to find in the meantime. But I'm not doing it tonight. I'm already tired. I started late, unfortunately. Prey 1. I've never played Prey 1. I don't know anything about Prey 1. I know that the new Prey, the 2017 Prey, like, is a successor in name only, and it has nothing to do with the original game. And I have played that one, so it'll be interesting to see what the original was. But we will go over that tomorrow. As always, thank you very much to everyone who's been here, who's been watching. Linked in the chat. Go check out Ice's videos and his channels. Good stuff. I always enjoy watching it. I have a good time yapping here. It gives me something to sit here and yap about for fucking 3 hours. It took us an hour and a half to watch that goddamn... No. It took me about 2 hours to watch that 1 hour long video. I made it twice as long. Hell yeah. And we will be back. Same thing tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Time. Apparently watching more Ice videos. I got to get caught up on the litany. And maybe some other stuff. I don't know. I got to figure it together. You don't have time to play Dante's Inferno, but I'll give you the experience. Exactly. I don't have 6 hours. There could be one stream. I don't have 6 hours, but I'll sit here and listen to the process. It looked fucking cool. Maybe one day. But anyways, thank you everybody sitting here watching again tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. Central Time. See you there. Stay cool. Have fun.